Hi, welcome to the True Mask Games YouTube channel, and welcome to our second episode of, and always forget the name of the scenario, the Garden of Earthly Delights. That's right. Our Call of Cthulhu Dark Ages game, where our players are playing members of the Spanish Inquisition in the year 1597. That is correct. So for all of you, those of you who have not seen the first part of this adventure, or maybe forgot, because a lot of things have happened and it's been 2 weeks, the plot is summarized very briefly. I'll give a brief summary now. Our characters are all members of the Spanish Inquisition. They've been summoned to El Escorial, the massive palace that King Philip II has built for himself. They met with a weird guy first, that not sure who he is, but then they were summoned to an audience with the High Inquisitor and His Majesty himself. His Majesty seems to be dying from some terrible disease, but nonetheless, he gave them a very important task. In a small village in the Pyrenees, in the Pyrenees Mountains between Spain and France, the village of Albergue, a local priest has sent a letter to the Bishop of Zaragoza, and the bishop has passed on this letter to the High Inquisitor. And this letter basically says that a virgin, untouched by man, has died in this village, and that this might very well be the second coming of Christ, which is something that all true believers, of course, all followers of the church, have been waiting for. So they are to go to this village of Albergue. They are to investigate what is going on there, and if the girl's claims are true, and after they have dealt with potential heresy that might be afoot in the village, they are to escort her to El Escorial and to the king himself. They have been on the road for about 10 days, our four characters and their faithful servant Lopez, a massive, bald guy who is basically a torturer, let's call it that, in the service of the Inquisition, who is accompanying them as sort of muscle and for intimidation and other potential purposes that they might put him through. They have arrived in the village of Albergue, and they have met with Father Xavier, the priest who has sent the letter. They also met Don Vicarra, the local nobleman, and his son Fernando, and also a couple of their servants, Juan, Don's manservant, Pepe, it's like a stable hand, and the young woman Conchita, who's a maidservant, basically. They talked to most of the village in the evening, at evening mass, and they also nailed the Edicto Fidei onto the gates of the church, basically calling upon all faithful servants of the church to come forth and tell the inquisitors whether they had seen any suspicious behavior in their fellow villagers, more or less. This was last night. Then they went back to Don Vicarra's castle, which is on top of the hill overlooking the village, and spent a dinner with the priest, with Don Vicarra, with Fernando, Don Vicarra's son, and with the Mendoza family, who are the second richest and the only really wealthy family, not counting the Don himself, in the village. They own a vineyard, Anselmo and Teresa Mendoza, and their two sons, Claudio, who's about 10, and Carlos, who's about 20, a fairly good-looking and quite slightly roguish individual, I suppose. Then the Mendozas left after Carlos made a bit of a fool of himself, sort of trying to, I suppose, flirt in a rough way with Conchita, the maidservant. And everyone went to bed. Bad dreams disturbed some of our characters, and they were woken up in the middle of the night. Actually, no, strike that. It was early morning. The sun had just crested the horizon, by shouting, and Pepe, the stable hand, who was basically shouting bloody murder. They descended the stairs down to the courtyard of the little castle, and they found Conchita, the maidservant, murdered in the stable, pierced by a pitchfork, blood everywhere. That was not the last thing, however, for they wanted to talk to the Don afterwards, and found him to be in a screaming fit, with armed with one of his ancestors' swords who had fought in the Reconquista, and shouting something about heathen dogs and infidels attacking him, and basically slashing with his sword at anyone who dared approach. After a short scuffle, they managed to subdue the Don and tie him to his own bed, basically, and gag him. And Fernando, the Don's son, asking basically that the knowledge of the Don's whatever fit or madness or whatever struck him had to be held secret for now, kept secret for now, and not shared with the rest of the village. And that's pretty much where we left off. Our characters are debating what to do next. They have an appointment down in the village with the Sanchez family, and because Sister Elena, played by Ambika, a nun, servant of the Inquisition, wants to inspect Maria to see whether this immaculate conception, I think that's the expression for this, is indeed true or not, whether she has been touched by man and whether it's just a story that has been made up, or whether this could actually be the second coming of Christ. So this is where we are jumping back into the game. It is still early morning. The sun has only been up for maybe about an hour, not even probably. And everyone is assembled in the courtyard of the castle. Juan is with his master, with the Don. You're not quite sure where Fernando has gone off to. Lopez is just leaning against the stable, waiting for orders, basically. And yeah, Pepe is carrying back straw into the stables that you had him carry out and put underneath the window just in case the Don wanted to leap out. But now that the Don is secured, the straw is going back into the stables. You get the impression that Pepe is trying to keep busy, basically, so that he doesn't have to think about the two events that just happened and how they might or might not be connected. So, take it away, guys.
Right. Well, I think after we will, or rather after our sister has checked the girl, I think we have a few other things to do. Going across the valley to the vineyard, but depending on what results she ends up with, that might have a say on whether we're going back to the king or not.
Perhaps we should have Lopez keep an eye on this Don Vicarra. Perhaps he should stay here and just keep some sort of eye on what's taking place at the manor, because there have so far been a number of concerning events happening at that place.
I mean, I can stay here if you want me to. Don's pretty tied up from what I've seen. I don't think he's going to cause much more trouble, but if you think you don't need me down in the village, it's fine with me. I'll keep an eye on things here.
What the rest of you think?
Is Fernando within earshot, or is he away?
No, you're alone. The only one who might hear the occasional word is Pepe, who's sort of walking through the courtyard, occasionally carrying the straw back. But Fernando is not within earshot now.
If I may, Fernando has a clear and simple reason for asking us to keep his father's ailment secret, but what if there's another reason, not quite so simple? Perhaps we should keep an eye on him as well. The problem is, we cannot be two places at once.
Pepe, did you see where the young master went this morning? Did he tell you?
Forgive me. What? Pepe stops. You talking to me?
Yes.
What can I help you with?
The young master. Did you see where he went?
Fernando, you mean?
Fernando, yes, yes.
I believe he's in his rooms. I didn't see him leave the castle.
Oh, okay, very good.
Is there anything else?
No, carry on, carry on.
I will. He rushes off. You think this one might be the murderer? He seems a bit...
Pepe, it doesn't look strong enough to have pierced body and...
I mean, he's a stable hand. He's probably used to heavy lifting and stuff like that. He might not even remember what he did. Who knows? I've heard stories about that sort of stuff before.
I have to say, I'm a bit puzzled by this strange scar that I noticed on his head before. Pepe,
Yeah, I saw that.
can you come here for a moment? Or has he gone to fetch...
Well, he's passing through like once a minute or so.
Yeah. Pepe?
Yes, sister?
I noticed that you have an unusual mark, a scar, on your head. Would you mind telling me how you acquired that scar?
He runs his fingers back over his scar at the back of his head, this circular scar that you have noticed before. Well, I can't really remember that well. I was pretty little, maybe 7 or 8. And there was something wrong with my head. There was a lot of pain and all that. And they say that I nearly died. There was a fever and everything. And Leandra saved me, though. I don't know what she did exactly, but I think she sort of, I don't know, stuck something in through my head and to cure me. I don't know exactly.
Leandra, the midwife.
Yeah, yes, she's the village healer. Everyone goes to her if they're sick or something. She's very, very kind.
Oh, that is interesting. Thank you, Pepe. And I kind of wait till he's sort of off elsewhere before turning to the others.
Doesn't seem to be too keen to stay in your presence for long.
This mark, I've seen it before. I'm somewhat familiar with it, although I don't know much about the procedure. It's called trepanning, and it's used to treat fevers and head injuries and things of that sort. But it's experimental. It's not commonly used, and it requires a great deal of skill and some specialized equipment. I find it strange that our village healer has access to such facilities. Perhaps it might be worth paying her a visit as well.
I believe we should indeed pay her a visit and perhaps ask the others about her as well. You see, what they call healers in these villages sometimes are continuers of a much older tradition, if you know what I mean.
Well, that could certainly explain her reason for claiming that the girl is untouched if she is in fact not. Perhaps she should be present for the examination, or at least nearby. I would like to talk to her about her examination as well.
Yeah, well, women like that are tricky. We have to be careful. She might be some sort of witch or something. Maybe she's behind all this stuff.
If she is a witch,
my good man, witches are exactly what we are here to eliminate.
Yeah,
are we not?
I agree.
I imagine you've had some experience with witches in the past, or something of that sort.
I've taken out my share of them.
Then perhaps we will need your talents after all if she proves to be unwilling to come to the path of righteousness on her own accord.
Yeah, I can help you with that, or her.
As a last resort, of course, Lopez.
Yes, of course. Last resort, as you say, sister.
There is nothing better than a confession willingly given by someone who realizes that they have sinned and are ready to come back to the grace of the Lord.
Willingly given. It's just a question of the right encouragement.
Yes, I suppose that's.
We should prepare for the worst. Desperate measures for desperate souls, I say.
Oh, I have my instruments. Not far. I can get them whenever you want.
Is there a way of placing the castle under kind of house arrest, in a sense that anybody who's in the castle can't leave the castle, which would kind of solve our problem of anybody disappearing before we get a chance to talk to him?
I mean, are you asking this of someone in particular or me as the game?
I was asking of a group, really. I mean, asking of the others. I think is this something we feel we can do?
Right.
Like the castle under kind of a house arrest, make sure nobody leaves the castle.
There aren't very many of us.
Now, I wonder if there's anybody we can actually. I mean, as we are, you know, the voices of the church and the king, and there are obviously guards within the castle. Does our word?
There's no guards actually in the castle. The castle only held 4 people up before your arrival. One of them's dead now. So you have 5 people. So you have Don Vicarra, you have Fernando his son, you have Juan the manservant, and Pepe the stable hand. It's a small castle. There's no guards.
Well, maybe we should get Lopez to guard the castle, make sure nobody leaves.
I can do that if you want. I mean, the 2 servants and the young master, whatever you want to call him, shouldn't prove too much of a problem.
Well, unless
May
Caro is possessed,
Exactly.
which is a possibility that we've spoken of. If the devil is within him, there's no telling what he might be capable of.
Exactly. And I don't want him leaving without us being able to talk to him. But we have got a lot of things to do. We've got to examine this woman. We've got to talk to the midwife. And we can't do anything and be 2 places at once. So if we can have somebody just make sure nobody leaves here, at least that one thing is secure, and we can get on with the other things and then come back and question. So our first priority is talking to this girl and discovering whether she is actually holding our blessed Lord. The other thing is the mention of trepanning you mentioned on the boy. If it is trepanning, it's in the wrong place. Trepanning is normally the crown of the head rather than the base.
Would your character know that?
Yeah, actually, trepanning was quite a big thing. That's why monks have the round thing on top of their heads.
Do you have medicine as your character?
Say again.
Do you have a medicine skill in significant percentage?
It's just common knowledge.
No, it's not common knowledge at all. This is a very new-ish, modern, high-tech procedure.
I think you'll find it actually isn't. But Japan's been around for centuries. Let me have a look. I have a 5% medicine skill.
So in that case, your character would not know that. You have no idea what trepanning is.
Okay.
Who do we consider a flight risk? To put it in that way, the old man we can lock in his room. The only thing he could do is try to kill himself, I guess. But other than that, I don't think he'll be able to leave, other than through the windows. But do we think the young master or the servants will try to flee?
I don't think Pepe would, although he looks very flighty.
Well, we still don't know who the murderer is, and it could be any of them. And if it is, then it may be that they were not fully themselves when they committed this crime.
I mean,
it may be, again, that they are possessed as well, and there's no telling what they might be able to do.
Could be anyone in the village, in my opinion. I mean, it's not difficult to climb up the hill and into the castle, stab her, and leave, right?
True, but it seems that the people who were here during the night would have had the easiest access. But you're right. We can ask if anyone saw a blood-stained person fleeing the castle this morning.
Yes.
Perhaps we'll find someone who arouses our suspicions in the village.
What about
but
that?
For now, I think you should stay here.
What about that Mendoza fella?
Yes.
Could have been a crime of passion. We see many of them in my profession.
Carlos.
No, I think that there was something strange about this, about the way she was arranged after her death. I don't know. It could be, but there seems to be something odd about this whole thing. Between her death and the way someone placed her arms at her side after killing her, the Don Vicarra going mad.
Are you saying that somebody might have been trying to frame this family?
Oh, I
For
don't know.
this
I
murder?
wouldn't say that for certain. But one thing I do know is that we need to ascertain whether or not this Maria has, in fact, experienced an immaculate conception. That will inform us as to whether the signs that we are seeing here are mere coincidences, or I think some insight into whether the second coming is really about to take place would be helpful.
Yes, I agree.
What you want?
It is in
well-
fact what we were sitting to do.
In that case, we should ask Lopez, would you wait and guard the castle?
Certainly, yes. So you all just hang around here and make sure that no one leaves. Should I, if someone comes calling, what should I say?
Castle is in quarantine.
Yes, tell them both masters are ill and it's contagious and they should stay away for their own good.
And of course, if they would like to give a confession, we can be found at the church.
Right.
Very good.
We'll do that. Fine with me. Yeah, he leans back against the wall again. So slides down, and is now sitting in the courtyard.
Perhaps we should go down to the village and start getting information. I find that once people have had a night of rest to stew in their own fear, they start to talk.
I agree with that.
And don't worry, Lopez, we'll fetch you if your talents are needed.
All right. Always glad to be of service. All right. So you guys go down to the village?
Yeah, I would like to have a quick word with the rest once we are out of the property and none of the servants are present.
It takes about 10, 15 minutes to descend the hill, cross the little bridge, the river, and sort of walk into the village. So you have a bit of time.
If I may, the request that young Don Fernando made, perhaps since he is not with us and he would not know till later, maybe we should consider ignoring that request. After all, if we're about to start asking about a murder, they will know. And the more they know, the more they will fear, and the more they will fear, the more they will talk.
Wise words.
At the very least, we should mention what happened to Conchita. Maybe save the old man's madness for later.
Yeah, Fernando actually didn't ask you to keep secret what happened to Conchita. He asked to keep his father's condition secret.
Right, okay.
That's what he asked you for.
Should it be useful? Perhaps we could reveal that, at least to some of the people we interrogate.
Yes, I'm certainly not going to be following this man's request should it obstruct the work that we must do here. I agree.
Exactly.
All right. So you descend down. There's not too many people out in the fields as of yet, but there are some. This village does rise fairly early. And people are bowing, nodding their heads into your direction. Now everyone obviously knows who you are. You recognize faces from the church yesterday, pretty much all of them, especially those of you who have a good mind and good memory of faces. Simple people. No one seems to know that something's wrong from what you can see. No one's whispering. No one seems particularly nervous, not more than usual in your presence, so to speak. But yeah, apparently whatever happened at the castle with Don Vicarra and Conchita the information has not gone out yet, so to speak. As you approach the center of the village, there's not too many people around. However, the doors of the church are already open, and you can hear soft voices coming from inside. And as you do enter, you see Father Xavier and the whole family of the Sanchez. So both Maria and her mother and father are present. And they're just sitting. Maria is kneeling in front of the church, the cross, praying with her head bent down. And Father Xavier is quietly talking to her mother. And her father is just sitting in sort of in the front row on one of the benches and seems to also be praying. The Father Xavier turns to you as you enter and says, good morning. Welcome. As you can see, the Sanchez are here.
Good morning. Try to put them all at ease. Yeah, a simple smile should do.
Both the parents turn to you now. Maria seems to have noticed that you have entered with a brief turn of the head, but doesn't stop praying her prayers. And you can see there on one side there's a large sort of like a curtain, basically, that's sort of drawn over several chairs that have been placed next to each other to sort of provide a little bit of privacy on the side of the church, so to speak. Pedro Sanchez, her father, walks up to you and gives a bow. Good morning, Your Eminences. We're here as you requested, as you asked.
I turn to the priest. Do you have a room here that would afford some privacy?
Well, I mean, if you think, he points over at sort of where the blanket is with the chairs. If you think that is not enough, then you can of course have my room if you wish. It's just next door.
Yes. And this woman, the midwife, Leandra, do you know if she's around or if someone can fetch her? I would like to speak to her soon.
Yes, I could have her. I could go fetch her myself if you want. She only lives a few houses away. The village is not big. Everyone's sort of close together.
That would be very kind of you, Father. Thank you.
You want me to do it right away then?
Yes, I would like to speak to her once I've had the opportunity to examine Maria.
Of course. I'll fetch Leandra then.
Thank you.
Back in a few moments.
All right. So I go with Maria to the to this other room, and I basically, as friendly and calmly as possible, examine her to see if I can determine whether she is untouched, to the best of my knowledge.
She seems very calm. What you notice, she doesn't seem to mind much the whole procedure, so to speak, and opens herself up. You spend a few minutes looking at her, and for you, it's fairly obvious that she has not indeed been touched. She's still a virgin.
All right. I lead her out of the room, and I call the others over to speak to them.
Okay.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, one thing is true. Maria seems to, in fact, be untouched. So I at least cannot rule out the possibility that she has, in fact, had an immaculate conception. Of course, I would perhaps wish for a second opinion from someone else in the court of King Philip, but that part, at least, seems not to be a lie.
By the way, looking at her, you would say she's probably in her 6th month, maybe 7th month of the pregnancy. So, I mean, she's not close to giving birth by any means, but it's well advanced.
Would I, with my medical knowledge at the time, know whether it is possible for her to have gotten pregnant without having actually had intercourse? Like, would my character be? Would this be within something that I would potentially know?
Probably not. I don't.
Got it. All right. I guess the knowledge of reproduction was not very advanced at the time.
No, it's also kind of not a particular field of knowledge that the church encourages studies.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. All right. So that's what I can conclude.
Well, this is good news.
Yes.
It is good news. My good man, if it is the hand of God, could it be the hand of somebody who wishes to mock and imitate him?
Pedro Sanchez steps up to you and gives another bow and says, excuse me, can we go? Or do you need anything else? The work, goats in the fields, they don't wait.
Yeah,
I don't
by
require
all
anything
means.
further, but I turn to the others to see what they.
There's no reason for us to keep you here.
Excellent. Well, we will be, of course, attending evening mass, so we'll see you tonight. Thank you again. Gives another bow, and both the women sort of also give you nods and respectful nods, and then both retreat, and they seem to be walking away into the fields together.
All right.
Nervous fellow, is he not?
Sorry?
I say to the others in a low voice, a nervous fellow, don't you think?
Nervous? I'm not sure. I mean, he seemed eager to get back to his work.
The goats.
People who work the land often have a sense of urgency, I suppose. That daylight doesn't last forever.
You can see now Father Xavier and an elderly woman approaching, coming down the road towards you. While not necessarily ancient old, she looks in her maybe late 40s, early 50s or so. She's wearing a cloak with a hood up, but not covering her face, just sort of the back of her hair. And you can see a few strands of sort of grayish black hair hanging out over her forehead. She's not a particularly attractive woman by any means. And she clearly looks like someone who had a fairly tough life in the outdoors, working hard in fields and such, apparently. Her clothing is very simple. And they both approach you and stop a couple meters away. And Father Xavier says, well, may I present to you Leandra, the midwife of the village? Leandra, these are our guests from the capital. Leandra bows fairly deeply. Forgive me for not seeing you earlier. But what is it I can help you with?
Oh, I merely had a few questions as to your medical training.
Ah, yes, of course.
Where is it that you learned trepanning?
Oh, she looks, gives you a bit of a surprised look and says, I'm not quite sure why what this has anything to do with the issue here, but I've learned it in Jaka, which is a small town that you sort of passed through on your way, about maybe 50 kilometers away or so, sort of on the lower parts of the mountains, the closest like real settlement of any significance.
And have you practiced this procedure on anyone here in the village?
Only on a boy, Pepe. He lives up. You probably met him. I think you are staying with the Don, yes?
Yes.
Yes, here in the village. I have done it 3 times in my life. Twice when I was a young woman assisting my teacher, and once here about, I was now, I don't know, 12 years ago or so, I think.
And to what purpose?
You mean, to what purpose I used it on Pepe?
Yes.
Well, he was sick. He had a strong fever. And my teacher always said that in some cases, relieving the pressure from the brain can be helpful in these things. I had tried everything else. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not particularly comfortable with the procedure. It is quite dangerous, as you probably know yourself, piercing someone's head. But it seemed to have worked. And Pepe is mostly healthy.
Mostly?
Well, yes, he's never going to be the most intelligent young man, I'm afraid. That is due to some damage that the fever has wrought. That is beyond my skills, I'm afraid.
And where exactly have you been? Where exactly did you perform this procedure? Do you have access to equipment for carrying out such a procedure?
I do indeed. It was gifted to me by my teacher. I have been keeping it. I didn't really think that I would need it, to be honest. But yeah, I can show you the equipment if you wish. I still, forgive me, but I am not quite sure what this has anything to do with the issue at hand.
Well, sometimes our methods can be a bit obscure, but that's really not particularly your concern now, is it?
Well, of course not. No, I was just trying to be helpful.
Yes. I turn to the others. Shall we examine her facilities, or are we done with her?
I think we should have a look at where she makes her salves and bandages and so on. I have a feeling there's more than meets the eye. You should ask also if she talks to Marcella about her condition.
She has been truthful so far. At least what she says is corresponds to what Pepe said. But yes, unless anyone else has another suggestion as to where our time might be better spent, perhaps it would behoove us to take a look at her home.
Certainly. The other thing we must start to do is make arrangements to have Maria taken back to see the king.
Yes, indeed. Which leaves us really to the question of how much longer we should stay and whether we believe that there is some heresy to be rooted out in this village at all.
Father Xavier, who was standing aside, kind of listening in a little bit on your conversation, perks up and says, "Surely you will be here for the feast, the holy day tomorrow. You did say that you would be. San Miguel would be an honor to have you."
Oh, perhaps, but we do, of course, have rather urgent concerns to see to. But
well, I understand that, but one day would not make a difference. It is tomorrow, after all. It would mean a lot to the people here, I believe.
I would be interested in seeing these odd rituals you've alluded to performing.
There is nothing particularly odd about them, but you're more than welcome to.
Well, they certainly aren't exactly the usual Christian customs, are they?
I mean, bull games are not so unusual. Surely they are done in other villages and towns occasionally.
I suppose it remains to be seen.
We will wait one more day.
Are my services here required further, or
I approach her and in a low voice say, "Have you also examined Marcella? She is, as you know, also with child."
She sighs a bit and nods and says, yes, Marcella is expecting her child in maybe about a month or two at the most. I have examined her, of course. All the pregnant women here, I am the midwife, helping them deliver healthy children in this world is my main concern.
It is not my intention to spread gossip or scandal, but only to unravel the truth for the benefit of the church. Do you know who the father might be?
I am quite certain that I do, yes. It is the elder of the two Mendoza children, Carlos.
How well do you know this Carlos? Is he a level-headed young man, or does he have
I do not like to
temper?
spread gossip, but I would not call him level-headed. No, he was always... I think he's mostly bored. And young women of his age often feel frustrated when they are bored, and then they seek ways to spend the time pleasantly without thinking about the consequences for others.
Of course, yes, but speaking of deadly sins, what about anger? Do you know him to be an angry man?
I mean, not more than most men his age. No, I would not say so.
Do you know Conchita? She works at the estate.
Of course I know her and her brother. I delivered her.
Would you know if anybody in this town would wish her harm in any way?
Conchita? No, she is a sweet girl. No, I doubt it. Oh, why? Has something happened?
I will tell you in a moment, but let me ask you, has she been with this Carlos? As far as you know.
I do not think so. I mean, the things that the young people of this village do, they do not do that in my house, these things. So I cannot be certain, but I do not think so. I have not heard anything about this. I don't believe it would end well. You see, her brother, Carrasco, is one of the more hot-tempered young men of the village. If Carlos were to play these games with his sister, I do not think it would end very well for anyone involved. So I hope not. She's not pregnant, is she? I have not heard anything.
No, not at all. She's not pregnant. You need not worry. But I might want to speak with her brother at some point.
I believe he must be working in the fields at the moment. I would not know where he is, but he should be in the church come evening.
Very well, thank you.
As you wish. So, is there anything else then?
I don't think so.
Did we want to inspect her place?
I would say yes, but is now the time?
Perhaps not. What else needs to be seen to at the moment?
Well, I would turn to the priest and say, has anybody come to you saying that they wish to speak to us about heresy, that they wish to confess or that they wish to point out?
No one came to me directly, but I do believe that a few people might show up over the course of the day. I have heard some rumors. I told everyone to come to the church if they need to speak with you.
Yes, in that case, perhaps we better stay here and have people come to us. And I look to the others.
Yes, we need to pray too. We need to pray for the child and the mother.
Yes. I have been praying for her ever since. I still cannot, to be perfectly honest, quite believe that this is happening, but it is.
Indeed, in my lifetime.
Well,
praise be to God.
Yes, praise be the Almighty.
Do you know, Father, of any scriptural precedent besides, of course, the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ for something like this?
No, nothing that I know about. Surely that would be very well known and documented if anything like this had happened before. I certainly did not. Our king, however, is very pious, and the Inquisition is doing God's work. So this must be our reward then, in a way. The Almighty must be glad. And surely our kingdom is the most devout of them all. On God's great earth. Where else would the Messiah be reborn?
If I may, for a moment, be a little less cheerful, Father. You mentioned earlier that, of course, the secret of confession is paramount. Is there any case at all, where an exception might be made?
I'm afraid not in any circumstances that I could apply to this, no. Confession is...
Even murder?
Even that, yes. All sins are absolved at a true confession, before the eyes of God, at least.
And of course, I imagine heresy would fall under that as well.
Well, that is for you to judge. It is not for me, I think. And he points at the two monks, Vidal Perron and Cervantes.
So I look around. I imagine it's just us and the Father at this point.
Well, Leandra is sort of standing a few meters away and still waiting to be dismissed, since no one really gave her, the permission to leave. But yeah, that's other than that, it's just you guys. And there's a couple villages sort of around, but no one in the immediate vicinity now. However,
I say
give me
the
a
word.
check.
Okay, sure, no problem.
All of us, or only?
No, just him.
Ah, right.
So, yeah, I succeed by 10.
Okay. So looking around, you do actually spot a face peering out from around the corner behind a house, and you recognize Marcella, the pregnant woman that you talked about not that long ago. She's not within earshot, but she seems to be sort of looking over in your direction, maybe about 25, 30 yards away.
I would look at the sister and I would say, "Sister, do you see Marcella over there behind that, peeking around behind that barn? She seems interested. Perhaps she has something to say. You were better acquainted with her. Maybe she would be more inclined to speak to you."
Okay. I move towards Marcella.
Okay.
Give her a friendly smile. Marcella.
She sort of steps out from this half-hidden position that she had occupied as she sees you approaching, and gives you a bow. Good morning, sister.
Good morning. Is there anything that you wanted to say to us? I noticed you glancing this way.
Well, last night your companion, the judge, the man with the fancy coat, he called upon all true believers to bring anything that they might know about heretics and such. Yes, is that?
Yes, of course. That is, after all, why we are here. Is there something you would like to tell us?
Yes, indeed. I have something. I think I know a heretic in the village.
Well, then we'd be most pleased to hear of it. Well, not pleased in that sense, but we'd be pleased to take your confession.
Right now, then. I mean, not here. He looks around, sort of standing out in the middle of the road, pretty much.
Oh, come inside of the church, and we'll.
Oh yes, of course. Good. So you walk past Father Xavier and Leandra and the rest of the group and enter the church. Leandra speaks out once more, sort of gives Marcella a nod. It looks a little, I suppose, disappointed, maybe is the right word, but then says, "Can I leave? Or is there anything else you might need?"
I think you may leave.
Thank you, Your Eminence.
We may be visiting you at some point.
Yes, of course. My house is She points down the road. You see that building on the edge of the village with a thatched roof, the one at the end of that road?
Yes, yes.
That is the way. I'm home most of the day. So you're welcome, of course, anytime.
Very well. Thank you again. Thank you.
She nods and goes back. Seems to be going home. Okay, so I'm assuming Sister Elena is going into the church with Marcella. What's the other three of you guys doing? You hanging around outside, entering, or going somewhere else?
I would ask the father about this Carrasco young man.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking to Father Xavier. And what about the other two?
I think a bit of praying.
Okay. You're also going back to the church?
Yeah, I'm trying to give the impression to people that I'm convinced, but within I'm not. I am an inquisitor after all.
Right.
And that simple fact, because she's still apparently a virgin, is not absolute proof in my book.
What about Cervantes?
Is there a library in the manor, or?
You saw a couple books. I wouldn't necessarily call it a library, but there was maybe about a handful of books.
Oh, that's not a library. It was a handful of books.
No, it's a very small village, so the books are fairly expensive. The Don Vicarra probably doesn't have that much money, so he wouldn't probably be able to afford a lot of books anyway.
Right. I'll stick with I'll stick with Fidel Peron.
Okay. So you're both going into the church to pray.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do Alonso first. So you approach Father Xavier, who's standing sort of in the doorway of the church, and you ask him what?
Father, Leandra, the midwife, she told me that Conchita had a brother, brash-tempered young man.
An elder brother, yes. He's a good man. He can be a bit rash at times, as you say.
Have you ever known him to get into fist fights or something, or anything like that?
Nothing to that extent. No, I don't think. Not to my knowledge. I mean, maybe a few scuffles here and there, but nothing serious. He's a very proud young man. He is working for the Mendozas, I believe he is. He's the only relative that Conchita has. Their parents died when they were both fairly young.
Have you ever known him to raise a hand to his own sister?
No, I doubt that. He was devoted to her, really. Very protective.
You see, Father, I feel I must confide in you something, but do not tell the others in town about it just yet. Before consulting me.
Of course.
There was something happened up at the residence of Don Vicarra. Conchita, I'm afraid, has gone to meet the Lord, and she did not have an accident. She was killed.
Murdered? What? That how?
Quiet, Father. We must be discreet for the moment. We do not know who did this.
May the Lord have mercy on her soul. How? Why?
Strange circumstances. She was run through with a pitchfork, but the sister examined her, and we have some reason to believe that she might have died prior and been placed where she was found. And maybe the pitch. Yes.
What does this mean? I don't understand.
Well, the first thing we came here to ascertain was whether there was a miracle, and for what we've seen so far, it appears that there was, which is a joyful thing, but a murder is a different matter.
Yes.
And we must try to find out what we can. This is why, Father, I asked you if there was anything like an exception to the secret of confession.
I understand. I'm afraid I cannot. If someone comes to confess to me, I am not at my liberty. I've given oath to the Almighty Himself. I cannot, for worldly matters, despite everything, I cannot break them.
Father, I understand that you cannot divulge anybody's identity or tell me what they have told you, but if I were to simply ask you if somebody has approached you regarding this crime, yes or no, would you be able to tell me that?
He looks troubled, running his fingers over his head. Give me a what's it called? Persuasion or something, I think.
Yeah, I have persuade, so I'll roll it.
Roll that.
I'm afraid I rolled super high.
Okay, so he hesitates for a moment. You see he kind of wants to help, but after a while he shakes his head and says, "I'm sorry. Even that would I think be very close to breaking my oath to the Almighty. We are not lawyers here. We when we give an oath, we do not try to find ways to work around it. It is our faith that is at stake. I cannot do this. I'm sorry."
I understand, but in any other capacity, I expect you to fully cooperate.
Yes, of course. And anything that is not protected by the oath of confession, of course. If there's anything.
In due time and shortly, we shall tell the others. But for now, please keep this between ourselves.
What is happening with the body of Conchita? I mean, if she deserves a Christian burial, at least with these heat, her body will start being less than presentable very soon. I would like to start some funeral preparations, if that is all right.
I understand, Father, but you can wait one day, can you not? After all, usually one waits a little bit before burial anyway.
Well, tomorrow is San Miguel. It would be unfortunate to have these two occurrences happen on the same day. But if we lay her to rest this evening, that would give you enough time to investigate. Yes, it would not take long to dig a grave, only a few hours. Please, the girl deserves a decent burial.
Where is the consecrated field? Is it close by?
Yes, of course. He points over his shoulder. You actually did see a small graveyard, sort of just beyond the church, that you have to walk past to go up to Don Vicarra's fortress, little castle, whatever you call it.
I understand the urgency, but if you may, let me confer with my colleagues for a moment.
Yes, certainly.
So I would walk over to the two friars and
we'll move over to Marcella and Sister Elena then in the church. So you're sitting in a slightly secluded corner part of the church. Marcella is kneeling in front of you. And she says, "Well, I'm sorry, sister. I don't quite know how this works. Is there any specific words I need to say, or one hand sort of resting on her stomach, which is quite significantly swollen." You're muted.
Just tell me what it is that caused you to come here.
Well,
there's no need for.
You see, there's this young man in the village. His name is Carlos. I think he might be a heretic. He's the father of this child that I'm carrying, but he does not wish to. He promised that he would marry me, but he broke this promise. He swore to God, and he told me that fornication, that is not a sin, is what he said. I was weak and I believed him. I think he might have even used some sort of spell on me or something. It was as if I could not control myself. He swore and he broke his promise, his oath, and everything.
Well, if he did indeed use some form of magic on you as opposed to it merely being lust and infatuation, well, that might be a different matter. But I'm afraid that the sin of fornication in and of itself does not constitute heresy. Do you
But
have any?
she said that he told
Okay.
her
That he told her it wasn't a sin.
which would
Okay.
actually be heresy.
Right.
Because that she doesn't obviously know that, apparently, from how she's talking, but your character would, because
Right.
that was against the
Yeah, I
teachings.
was going to ask about that. Yeah. But if he did in fact lie to you pertaining to the word of God, that may in fact be heresy.
That is what he said. That is what he
interesting.
said.
Mm. Yes. Is there anything else?
Is that not enough?
Well, it's
in the back.
certainly damning, but as many details as you can provide. If there's anything else that you know about this Carlos, then now would be the time to divulge it.
I mean, I know. What do you want? What do you need to know? I mean, he's.
Have you seen him recently?
Yes, of course. I see him every day.
Since last night at the mass?
No, I don't think so.
And not this morning?
No. He doesn't usually come into the village in the mornings. You see, his parents, they have more money than most of the village here, and which means that he doesn't have to work as much as most of us. So I think he spends his mornings sleeping in his parents' house up at the hill on the other side of the valley, the vineyard.
Now, is there any other concerning behavior you've seen in the village, Marcella, or is that all that you have to tell me?
That is all I know for sure. I mean, I couldn't say about anyone else. No.
Very well. Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention, Marcella.
Oh, it's my duty, isn't it? It's what,
of course,
the man said. Yes.
Of course.
Good. Thank you for listening. Thank you. She stands up and looks around a bit and then walks out. And this is basically, yeah. And Alonso also joins you, walking past Marcella as she exits, basically. So you're now all gathered, with Father Xavier cleaning a bit in the background, but not close enough really to overhear if you speak quietly.
Well, Marcella has accused Carlos of heresy. Well, what she's described is certainly heretical. She claims that he told her that fornication was not a sin. And she believes that he may have used some form of witchcraft, although that much I would attribute to perhaps other causes. Then again, she certainly has some issues with Carlos, so could be a frivolous accusation. But if what she says is true...
Well, it is cause enough for us to investigate further.
It also validates what I was saying before. That with the coming of a Christ is preceded by the coming of the Antichrist. Which is mentioned in both Matthew and Daniel and in Revelation. So Scripture has it, and it seems like it could be true.
Seems there is no love lost for the Mendoza family in this town. Now, of course, as the sister said, this could lead to frivolous accusations. On the other hand, passions may push the truth out.
Indeed. Well put. Yes, we cannot leave this uninvestigated.
As I see it, we suspect 2 people of possible heresy, and one of them has been formally accused, the other being, of course, Leandra. Now, if there's anything else that we should ask her that she could help us with, we should probably ask her before we inspect her home. If we are to accuse her, she will not cooperate anymore after that.
A thought just occurred to me. Perhaps, sister, you could maybe at some point examine the young lady who's just left.
Marcella. And what would I be looking for?
See if she has indeed known the man too.
Well, Leandra examined her, and by her own admission, she was with Carlos. But if you think it's worth taking a closer look,
it might also be a good excuse to examine her body in general. Perhaps you might see some signs of violence. If Carlos is a violent man, then he could also be suspect in Conchita's death.
Well, we have an accusation of heresy. We don't really need an excuse. We can simply go to him and speak with him ourselves, can't we?
Well, we could always use our retinue's talents on him, but I find I'm always want to try the subtle method first, and then the hard one.
I think examining Marcella would be the best bet. To be honest, we should be looking for some signs of a devil, witch signs on her body.
Well, she's just left. Should I call her back?
We need to examine her body for signs of a devil.
She's just left. Should I call her back? Should we examine her
Not
here?
a bad idea, sister.
Yeah, the sooner than the better. Yes, if you would.
I run back out the door to see if I can spot her.
Yeah, you sort of spot her in the distance making her way across the fields.
I yell, Marcella, wait. I need to speak with you for a moment longer. This is something else that I'd like to discuss with
A
you.
couple of the other people in the area sort of exchange a few glances. Marcella stops and comes back towards you. She already has a little bit of trouble walking. Not much, but sort of a little bit of a weird way of walking that she can accommodate her swollen stomach. Yes. Is there anything else? Any questions you have?
Why, yes, Marcella. What you said is, of course, already a start, but it's occurred to me that perhaps if I could examine you more carefully, I might have a bit more solid evidence to inform me as to Carlos's.
Yes, of course. Right now?
Well, if you don't mind, I've just examined Maria, and I still have the room at my disposal.
Oh yes, of course. I see. So it's true then, yes? What Leandra said?
Well, that's not really my place to discuss with you right now, but...
Oh, I'm sorry. I see. Well then, so you walk her into Father Xavier's little hut and examine her as well. I mean, she has a couple of like bruises and such, but nothing that seems to be too out of the ordinary. She is someone working in the fields all day, after all.
All right.
Could all be work-related injuries, so to speak.
I feel around her. I examine her head as well to see if she seems to have had any head injuries, or whether I can find a scar like the one that was
long hair, so it's a bit hard to examine her head. You sort of push it out of the way. Give me a medicine check or first aid, whichever you prefer. I'm not sure which one's better.
I think they're similar. Let's see, 36 should get either one. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
nothing extremely unusual. No, I mean, nothing. No big scars, no weird shapes, no birthmarks or anything like that. No
birthmarks, warts, moles, extra teeth.
Nothing like that. No.
All right. Well, thank you, Marcella. You can go. I apologize for the further inconvenience, but it was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. She starts getting dressed. You can see her stomach is she's further along than Maria for sure, by at least a month or two, probably. She is quite far in her pregnancy, so probably another month, 6 weeks at the most, you'd say, and she
or
will
less. No telling.
Well.
Yeah. All right. Yes, I I return to the others. Well, I didn't see any marks or anything of the sort on her. There was a small bruise or two, but nothing that couldn't be explained by hard work in the field. No signs of violence or witchcraft or anything of that sort.
There's a knock at the front door of the church, which is open, but you can, as you look up, you can see Anselmo Mendoza standing there, like sort of knocking on the side of the. Forgive me, may I enter?
Please do.
I believe you called last night for the good people to step forth if they have some information that might be helpful to you, yes?
Yes.
Well, I might have something. Some signs of a heretic in our midst.
Well, come closer and tell us.
He sits down on a bench and side of the cross. Well, you see, there's this man, Rico is his name. He's a suspicious character. He's hardly ever comes to church. One of the, probably the only man here, actually. He drinks a lot. He's a drunkard, really. Doesn't work very much either. I think he might be a heretic. I have never seen him make the sign of the cross or talk about Holy Scripture or anything like that. He's also an adulterer. He's been cheating on his wife. He has. Well, not any longer anyway, but I think that could be worth looking into. Not that I'm trying to.
Do you know if there were any children born of his indiscretions?
No, I don't know. No, I'm pretty sure there weren't. Not to my knowledge, anyway. I mean,
Do you ever know him to be violent, to hit somebody in anger?
I mean, he's a drunkard, so I wouldn't be too surprised. If he lashes out when he's drunk, I wouldn't know myself, though. He hasn't attacked me or any member of my family or anyone working for me, as far as I know.
And where could we find this Rico?
Well, his hut is not too far. I do believe that he's staying with Leandra at the moment.
Interesting. And do you know which are the women that he used to frequent?
Is that? I'm not sure if that's my place to say.
Well, you readily told us that he committed adultery.
Well, yeah, I suppose you're right. Well, you see, there's this widow. She, the widow Ortiz. She's the one that he,
I understand.
fornicated with.
Why is she staying with Leandra at the moment?
I think she's taking care of him. He was injured in a scuffle. Not everyone in the village is very happy with his way he behaves. It's a stain upon us all, if you ask me.
Let me ask you: do you often see him or any others out and about late at night or in the very early morning before the sun comes up?
Well, I don't usually. I'm not usually out and about late at night myself. So I couldn't really say. I'm sorry.
Very well. I think we were going to see Leandra herself, so we should see this man as well.
Yes, of course. Well, I hope I could help.
Thank you for your information. We
Of
will
course.
be visiting you later, I'm sure.
Yes. Well, you'll find me in the fields, in the vineyard. I'm sure you'll find me. Good day to you, and God's blessing. He makes another sign of the cross and leaves the church.
More and more people.
Father Xavier gives a little cough from the sides of clears his throat. If I may ask about the body, I believe you wanted to bring it up with the Inquisitors, Master de Camarinas?
Yes, yes. And I look at the others. I told him about the death. He will be discreet, but he is concerned about the burial, you see. It's been a few hours already, and it's hot out. What do you think?
And
Do
poor
you
girl,
think we should tell the others?
she cannot really enter into the light of the Lord until she's given a proper Christian burial. The sooner we do it, the better. I mean, a few hours probably don't make much of a difference, but surely we can bury her this evening.
Rumors travel fast in a town this size.
Doesn't that strike us as being odd? Such a fast turnaround, even considering.
No, not really. In the small, especially in small villages, people are want to get it over and done with usually. So it's not really unusual.
All right.
But the very fact that this is an unusual case where she was murdered makes it unusual straight away anyway, doesn't it?
Well, sure, certainly. But you reckon that Father Xavier probably doesn't have that much experience with murder.
So have we examined the body to how we would like? Because obviously that's where the importance is.
I think you have.
Do you think,
Roughly how
Alex,
long
that
she died?
I could find some kind of judicial precedent for pushing the father on the matter of if it was about a murder?
You could certainly that shouldn't be much of an issue. If you want to, you can give him any excuse. Really, you don't get the sense.
Okay, all right. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, you don't get the sense that he's like going to put up much of a fight.
Right.
I mean, he's certainly your inferior in any sense of the word.
Right, yeah, because I'm not just an inquisitor, but I'm also a judge. So,
yeah.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So any of you can contradict him, really. He doesn't have... You all have more authority than him. He's just a village priest, really.
So what do you say about the body? Should we... of course, everybody will know very, very soon what travels fast. Should we delay or let the father see to the burial?
Probably let him see to it. It may even bring some more people out of the woodwork.
Thank you. Am I allowed to share the unfortunate news then with the others, or do you want me to keep it quiet for another couple hours?
If you would perhaps pick out 2 strong, able-bodied men and take them with you so that they could help you carry the body back. We need our man to stay there.
Yes, of course. I mean, but these men, they're not going to keep quiet.
Of course, I understand. But perhaps don't take her brother with you yet. Perhaps tell him when you return.
I see. Well, so do you? Is it fine with you if I go right away?
I just take a look at the others.
Well, don't think we can prevent him. Really, it's his job. He's the priest.
Thank you. I'll find 2 men that can keep a secret for at least a few hours then, and I'll tell her brother myself as soon as we are done with the preparations. I'm sure he will help. He will want to help digging the grave.
Right, and take note of anything you hear that might be relevant. After all, somebody has done this.
Yes, yes, indeed. I cannot believe that anyone here would. And he just walks off, sort of quietly talking to himself, basically shaking his head.
So I'll take a quick look around and see if anybody seems to be approaching the church.
No one at the moment. No, most people are out in the fields now working. The village itself is fairly abandoned, what you can tell.
Perhaps we should go see the midwife and her patient and leave word with the. But the father has just left. Perhaps we could have somebody else stay here and direct anybody else to our whereabouts if they should come to confess.
Should maybe one or two of us go back to the castle or a keep or a manor or whatever and question the people in there?
You mean question the people who work at the Vicarra?
Yeah, people like Lopez is holding.
Well, they're not going anywhere, and I don't know. I myself suspect the woman and the fact that she's harboring this violent drunk. I think we should take a look.
We also need to speak to Carlos. He and this woman's patient are the two who have been formally accused of heresy. So
Correct, and perhaps we can ask the woman about him as well.
All right. So where are you going?
I would vote for going to see the woman and her patient first.
Okay.
But after we would see Carlos. I mean, the order is not that important, but that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think really we should stay together just in case something happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so you're all going to Leandra's hut then?
Right.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't take you long, a minute or two to get there. You knock at the door, and a few moments pass, and then the door opens, and you can see Leandra's face. Welcome. Please come in. Or would you prefer speaking outside?
No,
if you don't mind, your dwelling is not beneath us. We would rather go in if you don't mind. It is hot outside.
Of course, please. You come in and you see it's a fairly simple hut. Nothing out of the ordinary except for a lot of different like small herbs and roots and such that are dried on one side of the hut, just hanging from the wall. And there's a few what looks to be pieces of parchment, like scrolls rolled up, which is unusual, obviously, for a villager. So she clearly knows how to read at least. And there's also a satchel, which looks a bit more fancy than usual, an old sort of leather satchel that might hold her medical equipment. You're not sure. And in one corner, there's a small bed with a man who seems to be asleep on it. You just see a bit of sort of grayish black hair and a face that's sort of in a pillow, eyes closed, and a blanket draped on him, despite the heat.
I'd like to pull out one of these scrolls and take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, she doesn't seem to mind. You look at it, and you recognize this seems to be a copy. Maybe Leandra copied some sort of medical text. You might even know the text itself. That seems like some sort of university level, basically medical text with a few drawings and such.
I take a few more out, just sort of sample what's there and see if anything
they're
seems
not
odd.
many. There's like maybe 10 or so in total. You can look through them real quick. They're all of the same similar kind. You're a bit surprised to see this type of texts in a fairly remote village. That's something you would expect from basically a student of medicine at one of the like larger universities in Spain. So what can I help you with? Any more questions you have regarding Maria or something else?
There is the no. Maria is fine. The sister examined her. I was wondering about Marcella. She You see, she accused Carlos of witchcraft used to seduce her.
Witchcraft? I really doubt that. I mean, she sort of spreads her hands. What do you want me to say? I'm sure you can yourself understand where this is coming from. She is a very angry young girl, and she has all right to be angry. Witchcraft is taking it a bit far, though, don't you think?
Another
Practices
question.
do exist.
Have you ever heard this Carlos to deny that fornication is a sin?
To be perfectly honest, I don't really speak much with him. We barely exchanged a few sentences. Last time I spent any significant amount of time with him is when he was a child. So I really wouldn't know. That would, of course, not be good.
Oh, it would be heresy.
Yes. Well, I couldn't say.
And this fellow here, as a gesture to the man on the bed.
Rico? What about him?
We have heard things about him too. What can you tell us about Rico?
Well, he's a troubled man. He drinks a lot.
Yeah, I'll be watching him for telltale signs that he's actually awake.
Give me what's that called? That insight, or whatever it's called. Read people, something like that. I don't know. There's a skill.
Yeah, there's an insight skill.
Yeah, insight.
If I can find the character sheet.
That would be helpful.
Oops, it's closed down. Oh, talk amongst yourselves while while this old man gets his act together.
I would like to look at the scrolls myself for a moment.
Do you have medicine or anything like that?
I don't have medicine. I'm well read, but not in that field.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would recognize them as probably medical texts, but they wouldn't really tell you much.
These seem to be scholarly texts.
Well, I mean, yes, I'm trying to learn as much as I can so I can help the people the best I can. These are all old texts. I haven't had the chance to acquire anything new for many years now. There's not too many peddlers coming through here, only a few every year, and they don't usually carry medical texts, I'm afraid.
It is an admirable woman who endears herself to reading, but if I may ask, where did you have the chance to copy these texts?
Well, my teacher, she had a few of them. It's a long time ago, and she was nice enough to allow me to copy them. I spent quite a bit of time on this, practicing.
You trained with a wealthy. Did you apprentice under a wealthy woman then?
Yes, she was fairly wealthy. Was Donna Carres.
So this big man, what ails him? Is he having a fever?
No,
it is hot for a blanket.
No, he's not. No, it's not a fever. He was beaten quite severely.
Is that right? Do you know who did it?
Yes, of course I know who did it. A man by the name of Armand.
What were they arguing about?
I'm not quite sure. I think it was meant to be a punishment. Armand is a violent man.
Was it about a woman?
Well, in a way. You see, Rico he's not always been faithful to his wife, and some men in the village, don't know if it's much of their business, but seem to want to punish him for that.
Is it because they're women that he sleeps with?
No, not at all. It's this old. Well, I shouldn't call her old. She's younger than me, but this widow Ortiz that he has been seeing occasionally, as far as I know. I don't know of any other women, but they're not married, so.
There's a very pious town in which men beat a man for sleeping with a widow. It is a sin, but I'm just surprised at the zeal. Do you know what I mean?
What do you want me to say? Should I speak perfectly openly?
Of course.
Armand is a violent man. I think he takes any excuse to hurt someone.
Do you know Armand to ever be violent to women?
You can see her being taken aback a bit, and she hesitates. And give me a persuasion check.
Yep, I succeed by.
All right.
Yeah, I succeed by 40.
Oh, wow. Okay, she hesitates for a brief moment and says, I suppose it's not really my place to say, but Rania, Armand's wife, I've seen bruises on her quite a few times. She never admits it, but most of the village knows what's going on.
I look around and kind of give a knowing look to my companions, know that they know about the murder, but this woman doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Violent man. Share the word with Miss Armand.
Well, that's really all I can say to the matter, I think.
Yes, I guess the only others who would know about the scuffle would be Armand and Rico himself. And
I think most of the women at most of the village saw it. It happened pretty much in the center of the village about 2 days ago.
Rico must not be a well-loved man then. Nobody came to his aid.
You could say that, yes.
So I want to go over to Rico and kind of take a look, see if he's like still sleeping.
Okay. Oh, what happened to that insight check, by the way?
Perron was distracted, obviously.
Okay, I see.
Is there a window overlooking the church? I just wondered.
No, there's only 2 windows in the whole place, and one is sort of going out onto the street, and the other one out in the back.
Right, well, I've probably just walked over to have a quick look out of the door to see if anyone is hovering around the church.
Right. Okay.
So I didn't see any telltale signs from Rico at all.
No one at the moment. No, I mean you only left the church like 15 minutes ago or so.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you'll allow me to roll inside to see how Rico is doing.
Certainly.
I just rolled it. It's I succeeded by 18.
Looking at him, he seems to be sleeping very deeply. So you reckon maybe he has taken some medicine or something?
Does he smell like drink?
A little bit.
Do I smell anything else, like medicine or some kind?
I mean, you looking around, you see a couple of like small, like not bottles, but whatever, maybe some jars or whatever, like clay jars or whatever someone would be using. Glass is obviously very expensive. That are around that are holding different types of what seem to be herbal concoctions or something. So they all smell kind of herbally. You're not a man of medicine, so you wouldn't really know what they are, but it must be some sort of medicine, you suppose. Could be soup for all you know.
So I have a question. Superstition of the kind that does not conflict with the church's teaching, is that heresy too?
Not really, no. The heresy is specifically contradicting the teachings of the church.
Okay.
That's something that the church, for instance, calls a sin is not a sin. That would be heresy. Committing that act is a sin, but not heresy.
What do you make, Leandra, of this birth without union?
Well, I've certainly never seen anything like it. As has no one, from what I know, not in the last hundreds of years. Not to my knowledge. But I am as certain as I can be that Maria is still a virgin. So the only explanation then is a miracle. Is that not? Is it not so?
It is the happiest explanation, yes.
Well, are there others?
I do not know what my friends think. They know more of the good book than I do, but I heard that the enemy likes to imitate the Lord in order to mock him.
The devil's work, you think? Why, surely Maria and her family, they're very, very devout, amongst the most faithful in the village. Surely they would be protected by the hand of our Lord from such evil.
Those in the light of the Lord would be a greater prize for the Prince of Darkness.
Well, I don't know anything about these things, I'm afraid. Let's just hope it's not the case.
Let's hope I'm just being a little paranoid.
Right. Is there anything else?
Let us know if Rico wakes. I'd like to speak to him.
He should be awake in a few hours. I've just given him something against the pain when I change his bandages every morning. It's quite painful for him.
Do you mind if I take a look at him?
Of course not. If you have some healing skills of your own?
Yes, I have medical training.
Yes.
I move a little bit closer and just look him over, see whether what she said seems to corroborate with what I'm seeing. In other words, that he was attacked and beaten, and
Okay.
if I notice anything else out of the ordinary.
Give me a medicine check. Or first aid. Doesn't really matter which one in this case.
They're the same, just a sec. It's actually... Nope.
Okay. Well, he looks like he's unconscious, pretty much. He has his chest and back are heavily bandaged, and there's a little bit of blood seeping through at the back. Like the bandages are little. There's a few like little bit of like brown and red from the inside, and he has a bruise on the side of his face as he was punched.
All right. I step away, nod to the others to indicate that I'm finished.
What wounds did he suffer? Stab wounds or just beating?
No, it was they used sticks, willow sticks to.
Oh,
You said they. Who helped Armand?
I'm not sure. It was 2 or 3 men in total. Armand was the one, I think, dealing out the punishment, but I think 2 other men helped Rico down so he couldn't run. His back looks bad. It's gonna take a while for these wounds to heal.
I'm sure Rico will be able to tell us who gave him the beating when he comes round.
I'm not sure he actually remembers. It's been pretty drunk at the time. A lot fortunately for him in some ways.
Fortunate indeed.
But he, if you want, if you come back around noon or so, I'm sure he will be awake. Probably not in a state to wander off anyway.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, shall we go see Carlos or?
Carlos is
A young man accused of witchcraft to aid seduction. And I smile for a moment as I say this.
yes, Carlos. Perhaps he will still be in his bed. If the tale is true. But he's on the other side of the valley.
Yeah, it's on the south side of the valley. So maybe about a 15-20 minute walk from where you are.
Okay, it's not too far then.
No, the valley is not very large.
Are there any wheat fields nearby?
I guess there would be, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, let's visit the vineyard.
Okay, so you're going for the Villa Mendoza. There's a little road sort of winding, not much more than a goat trail, really, winding its way past a couple of fields with people working there, and some people you recognize. And then there's the vineyard itself, and then there's a medium-sized building, not that large, really. Calling it a villa is putting it very strongly, up on top of that hill as well. And as you are walking up, it's already getting quite warm, even though it's only about maybe 9 o'clock or so in the morning. You can see actually Teresa Mendoza, the mother, so to speak, of the family, coming towards you downhill with a little satchel across over her shoulder. As she sees you, she stops and then hurries up to you and says, "Ah, good day. I was just on my way to see you."
Oh, good morning. We were on our way to see you.
Good. Is there anywhere we can? She sort of looks around the fields and the vineyard. How does this work? Is there anywhere we can talk in private?
Is this not private enough?
Yes, if you say so. I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be happening in a church or in the church or something. But you said that we need to be on the lookout for heretics and such. I have someone to talk to you about. I don't suppose you already know about the group, the gypsies. Do you?
Don't believe we do.
A couple of them were at church yesterday. You might have noticed them. They have a bit different clothing from the rest of the village.
I've seen such people before in the southern part of the country.
Yes. Now that she does mention, you do remember that you saw maybe about 4 or 5 people that stuck out a bit from the crowd last night that were dressed a bit different, a bit more colorfully than the normal villagers. They have a small wagon camp about half an hour east of the village, at the end of the valley, there's a small lake. I think they're trying to seduce people, to make them fall off the path of our Lord. No, they're trying to do it to my son, some of the other villages as well. They're selling them alcohol, and I'm not sure what exactly is going on in these wagons, but I'd probably rather not know myself. I mean, they are.
Perhaps we can speak with your son about it before we head that way, as we are here already.
Is that really necessary? He's just a boy.
I'm afraid it is necessary.
Ah, very well then. I believe he's still home. I'll announce you. He turns and starts walking up the hill.
Okay. Follow her.
Mm-hmm. She opens the door once she arrives. The villa, as I said, it's just a slightly larger building, really. Calling it a villa is way too much, really, even though people do call it the Villa Mendoza here in the village. You've heard that said. And Teresa calls out, "Carlos, the Inquisitors are here to see you. Come, Carlos, where are you?" And there's like a from some of the from a room in the back. And then she disappears in the back, and she said, "I'll be right back." And then disappears in that room.
Could I? I'd like to keep a close watch on her.
Okay.
You said she had a satchel.
Yeah.
When she arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she just leaves it outside of the. Doesn't carry it with her.
Oh, fair enough then. All right. So she's left that where we could have a look, see what it was. So that's nothing suspicious then. Okay.
She walks into the back room. There's seems to be 2 back rooms and then this large front room, which is like a kitchen / living room basically area. And you can hear muffled voices from the inside, a woman's voice and a man's voice. The man's voice, the Carlos's voice, you suppose, sounds pretty annoyed. But eventually, after a few minutes, she just sort of pulls him out of the room. He looks a bit sleepy-eyed, not necessarily as if he just woke up, but he was clearly still lounging around. His hair is a bit tousled, and he stops, just runs fingers through his hair, gives a bit of a grin towards you, gives a nod. "Oh, my mother said you wanted to talk to me."
Good morning to you. Please come and sit down.
He sits down. "What's this about? Can I help you with something?"
A number of things, but first of all, tell us about the travelers, about the gypsy camp.
Gypsies? I mean, don't know what to tell you. They're making music. There's about a dozen or so of them. I have a couple of wagons. Made camp maybe half an hour from here at the small lake. They're usually here a couple months every year. It's not always the same group, but
you've sat with them and listened to their music and talked to them and
yes. Well, I'm not the only one. There's many people visiting them. They make good music and good drink.
That's all they make.
Oh, they make some good drink. I don't know if they make it, I suppose, but we have a few coins, and I'm not going to lie. After a hard day's work, having a few sips, surely that's not so bad.
I'm sure some of the people you know who have hard days' work have told you that.
He gives you a bit of a confused look. Doesn't quite seem to catch your meaning. Well, I mean, that's all I can tell you. Their leader is called Vadi or something, or Vati or something like that, an older man. If you want to know about the gypsies, you should probably talk to him.
There is something I'd like to know from you, Carlos. What's your view on whether or not fornication is a sin, out of mere curiosity?
That's of course it's a sin.
Well, because I've heard from someone else that you insisted it was not.
Well, that's obviously a lie. I would never do that.
Is it?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Oh, one of two people are lying. We will be speaking to the others in the village, and should it turn out that you're not the one who's telling the truth, well,
my family is not. We've worked. My parents and grandparents, they worked very hard to build what we have here. Some of the people are just jealous. So they're not surprised that they're trying to make up weird stories about us.
And you're sure you wouldn't have said such a thing even to tempt a young lady into sin?
Of course not. I'd never say anything like that. That's against the holy book, isn't it? The word of our Lord.
So you know that would be heretical.
Yes, I mean, wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
I step a little bit closer and I put a hand on his shoulder. Carlos,
your hand and sort of gives you a slight grin.
You've seen my friend Lopez, haven't you? The large man who follows us around.
Oh yes, I've seen. He's very large.
Now, we could do this in any number of ways. You could simply confess to me whether you have spoken against the word of God, or I could ask Lopez to have a talk with you instead.
Oh, Teresa steps in and says, surely this won't be necessary. He's a good boy.
It won't be necessary if he speaks the truth, no. But if he insists on straying from the path and refuses to speak the truth, and well, then more drastic measures might be necessary.
No. I'm not lying. I swear it.
You see, young man, just like any other crime, there are degrees to heresy and degrees of punishment. Now, lying about it increases the severity of the crime.
About heresy. I know that I'm not supposed to go against the word of our Lord. I would never do that.
A simple heresy might need only a fine, but a more serious heresy, like one compounded by a lie, an obfuscation, that might not be taken away by just your family's fortune, my boy.
If my son did commit a sin, it's probably those gypsies that made him do it. And if a fine is necessary, we would be happy to help the Inquisition out financially.
Well, before we can assign a punishment, the crime must be confessed to. It's a very simple matter. All Carlos must do is admit that he's spoken against the word of God.
I would never do that. Never. I'll freely say that I'm not the most faithful in the village. I mean, but I would never go against the holy Lord.
The Inquisition has ways of bringing the truth out of people.
It is the truth. I wouldn't lie to you.
Well, you've had your opportunity, young man.
What?
It very much pains us, well, me at least, but you know that the things that you experience here are there, whereas eternity is forever.
Oh yes, I know, of course. I've listened to Father Xavier.
I would hate to ask Lopez to torment your body in order to extract the truth, but if it will save your soul, it's a small price to pay.
He does get a bit pale now. I don't know. That's not going to be necessary. I don't. The bitch is lying, clearly.
Who?
Well, whoever told you this Must be
And who do you think that might have been?
must be Marcella, right? She hates me.
I turn to the others.
Your microphone's been.
What should we do with him? Sorry. I turn to the others. What should we do with him?
I whisper to you, let him simmer. Then we can return. With Lopez.
Yes, he had his opportunity. And if it proves that he was withholding the truth again, then the punishment will be severe.
There is one more thing. And I look at the boy.
Yeah.
Do you... Now, this is not a matter for the Inquisition, but I must ask, do you drink much, my boy?
No, not much. Every now and then in the evenings, but no, not. I wouldn't call it much. Not as much as some.
What the gypsies sell, is it stronger than what you usually drink?
Some of it is.
The young woman you referred to, she also said... Of course, you know it is her. It is clear. It does not matter. All small secrets come to light in a town like this. Listen. She also said that you convinced her, not with sweet words, but with witchcraft. Now,
What?
why would she get an idea like that?
Well, I don't know. The bitch is crazy. Witchcraft. That's. You don't believe that, do you? I mean, I'm a farmer.
She's a farmer as well. She might have been confused. I'm not saying what she said was true. I'm trying to find out why she would get an idea such as that. Did you give her anything to eat or drink?
I didn't make her do anything.
Very well. We shall ask you again later.
I'd like to wander over to his room and have a look in his room.
Okay.
Well,
the room is pretty small. There's a small desk with a chair. There's a few clothes pretty much strewn around, and a bed.
Are there any clothes strewn aside that he perhaps wore yesterday?
I
was looking for
possibly
probably
even a
blood
rich
spatter or anything.
Even a rich farming family wouldn't have more than maybe 2 or 3 sets of clothes for every person. But yeah, give me a spot hidden check in general as you're looking around the room.
Okay. I need to spot my spot hidden.
It's alphabetically ordered, I think, on the character sheet, so it should be under S.
Aha. There we go. No, my eyes fail me yet again.
Okay. So,
But
I mean,
I was looking for something more specific in it. If I don't see any blood on his clothes.
There's a couple clothes. You don't see any blood or anything on any of them.
All right. Okay.
I look at the mother for a moment.
Yeah, Teresa is slowly rummaging through like a cupboard on the side, and she comes up with a small, like a barrel, maybe this size, and she says, "If I may, for the trouble, a gift for the Inquisition, some of our best wine. I seem to recall that you liked it last night."
I did, but this is far too much for me.
Oh no!
Perhaps it will go to the institution.
I insist. This finding heretics, searching for heretics, is dirty work and thirsty work, isn't it? So I'm sure my husband would not mind at all. I'm sure he would insist as well. Please take it as a favor for us, really, to us, really.
You understand that just like the institution of the law, we cannot a gift has to be given without any expectation of anything in
course, of
return, or
course.
it might be considered a bribe.
No, of course not. It's just some drink. I mean, we have a vineyard, and you have your very important guests. We haven't had the honor of such guests for a long time.
Did it look contrived how she suddenly appeared with this barrel?
I mean,
Or was it just like on show?
Yeah, give me an insight check.
I'm trying to get suspicious now. I am insightful in this instance.
Okay. Well, she seems nervous. It's clearly intended to ease your questions a bit. And it seems like a spontaneous idea that just came to her.
I will change the subject, but I will continue the question. I will say, tell me, what kind of company does your son keep? Any rowdy friends? Do they like to perhaps get into fights, have a drink, things of that nature?
My son wouldn't get into fights. No, and he friends. I mean, he spends a lot of time with Fernanda, Don Vicarra's son.
Does he? Interesting. What do they have in common? Fernando seems to be a rather lyrical young man.
Well, I wouldn't know, but I mean, they are two most wealthy young men in the village. Most of the other people are working the fields all day. Speaking of, we should get back to work as well, shouldn't we, son? Yeah, you're right, mother.
I might be. I look at Carlos. Do you know Carrasco, the young man, brother of Conchita? You know
Carrasco?
her.
Yes, he works for us in the vineyard. We know him.
I hear he's very protective of his sister.
Yeah, he is. He's a bit bit crazy, if you ask me.
Well, would you say something like that if he tried to hit you?
No, he wouldn't dare that. But he's easily angered, especially if anyone says anything about his sister. I mean,
Very well.
he's a good worker for what it's worth. We've never had too much trouble with him.
Very well. Very well. I tell you what, and I look at the mother. We will accept the gift, but it is a bit heavy, is it not? We can take it when we leave. Just put it to the side, perhaps.
Oh, of course. It'll be right here. He just puts it next to the door. Whenever you want to take it. Excuse us. We should really get to work.
Sure.
Before I leave, I'm going to take Carlos and basically suggest that he spend some time in contemplation of the words of the Lord.
I mean, yes. This evening.
Consider your soul at this point in time. I suggest maybe Galatians 5:19 would be appropriate for this particular.
Is that a book?
Yeah, book of the Bible. Yeah.
I don't read
You
the
don't know
language.
your Bible. You don't understand the words of the Lord.
Well, I don't read the language of the Holy Book. No.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think many people here do.
You can't read?
Oh, I can read, but not Latin.
Ah. Well, that's definitely interesting.
If you'll excuse us, please, you're welcome to stay as long as you like. If you want to rest a bit, please help yourself to any food or drink. We should really get going.
Before you do go, is Claudio around?
Claudio's in the fields, somewhere in the vineyard. He's working.
Oh, very good.
He's just... She seems a bit scared now. He's just a boy. Why do you...
Oh, don't concern yourself. We have to consider all possibilities.
Uh-huh. All right, I understand. Well, anyway, good day to you. And
good day.
Both leave. The mother sort of pulling the son along. They're leaving you in their house, like in their living room.
Right, let us see if we can find some damning evidence.
Say, did we ever leave word at the church of where we were going? Perhaps some people have decided to come out and can't find us.
I don't think we did leave word.
Perhaps we'll catch them tonight at Mass.
Yes. Well, I had a quick look in the boys' room, and I couldn't see any blood-soaked clothes or anything. His boots don't seem to have been worn during the night, so I don't think it was him who did the deed.
I have to say, we're hardly prepared for a murder investigation. We don't really have the resources necessary for proper search of every property in this area. Perhaps we should, well, before long, all the town will know. But perhaps we should find some volunteers that could help us look. Maybe we can call on some people at the service tonight.
Very well. Very well.
So, it is not noon yet.
Yeah, it's now about maybe 10-ish, 10:30 maybe at the latest.
What do you say, Caron? Should we head back to the church or go look for Armand or perhaps the gypsies? Or if you want to talk to Conchita's brother before he knows she's dead, now would be the time.
True, if they're working in the fields, perhaps we could see them all together and see their reactions, the way they look at each other.
So do you suggest we go look for Carrasco and also Claudio, the youngest?
Yes.
Very well.
You want to head out to the vineyard then?
Yeah, I think so, if everyone's in agreement.
All right. We'll have a 5-minute break so everyone can grab some drink and stuff, and then continue for another hour or a bit more. Let's see. And obviously,
no worries. I have a quick mechanical question, Alex.
Yeah.
Does Alonso actually know how to use that sword? Because I don't seem to have a skill in it. Because I have a pistol that I have a 35% skill in it, but then I have a sword, but then it doesn't have a skill number.
Oh, maybe I forgot. Let me check. Alonso de Camarinas, you have 30% with the sword.
Okay, 30%. Yeah, the number was missing. I'll just add it in.
Maybe I just forgot to write it down on your character sheet. Okay. See you guys at 5.
Okay.
You got it.
Ready whenever you guys are.
I'm back.
All right.
Hey, I'm back.
All right, Ian back. James? Oh, still gone.
That's quite a painting, Garden of Earthly Delights. I've been looking at it a little bit further.
Yeah, it is. Bosch's paintings are always, there's like a million details.
Hmm.
Anyway, let's just jump back in. James will, I'm sure, show up soon enough. So you spend about maybe 10, 15 minutes looking through the vineyard. Who are you looking for again? You said you wanted to speak to...
Yeah, we're looking for young men that we can that we've heard the names of, like Claudio, the youngest, and also Carrasco, Conchita's younger brother.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody else around, we'll just kind of question them.
Well, there's other
group.
workers. The Mendoza seems to have maybe about 20-ish people working for them around the vineyard. So you'll see several people that you can ask questions if you want, the different villagers. You will spot Claudio very soon as he's sort of moving around. He seems to be carrying a bucket with water and a ladle and sort of handing it out to the workers so they can drink, and moving around the vineyard. So you can gesture him over if you want.
Yeah, well, one of looks like he's going to be heading this way.
Mm-hmm. He does come up to you and water? He sort of holds out the ladle filled with water to you guys.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you, young fellow. I'll ruffle his hair as I take the ladle.
He gives you a bit of a look, but doesn't say anything. He's about maybe 10 years old, you'd say, but fairly large for his age.
Yeah. I'll try to play the good inquisitor at this moment.
When he takes the ladle back as you have a drink and then gives you a nod and starts heading.
I'll sort of crouch down.
Okay.
On the roomy knees. Now, young lad.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard you. You've studied Bible in church, have you?
Yes, I've been listening to Father Xavier.
You know the difference between right and wrong.
Yes.
Tell me, who's been doing wrong in the town?
Wow. Mother says that those gypsies, those strangers are bad.
And what have you seen?
Well, Mother doesn't let me go there. Outside the village. My brother goes there with some of the other men.
Yes. But do the young ladies come to visit?
Ladies? To us?
The girls.
No, they don't. No. Wait. I'm sorry. You mean do the women go to the gypsies or come up to here?
Go up to see your brother.
No, of course not. My father would beat them.
Were you up late last night?
No, not. I mean, we went to bed soon after our mother and I, and went to bed soon after we came back.
Did you hear your brother come back?
He was with us for a bit, and I think he went to the gypsies after.
And father?
My father, I think he wasn't happy with my brother. They were angry. He was angry at him. No, he didn't go to my father. Doesn't go to the gypsies.
He didn't follow after?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Hmm. Well,
I need to go carry the water.
run along. Yes, there's a good lad. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. He keeps moving down to the other workers further down in the field.
Do we know where the gypsies work? The gypsies work. Where do they work?
You've heard that their camp is somewhere on the east side of the valley.
Right. But somebody's mentioned about the fact that the gypsies work somewhere. Or they go to work. Or
No, I think you misunderstood something that I might have said.
Oh, right. Okay.
Just play music. Go to church occasionally.
Ever.
Well, interesting.
Oh, I walk a few paces closer. I say, "You're truly doing the Lord's work, Perone. I could." It's sad to say, but I could never stand children. And I twirl my mustache.
Indeed. We were all children once. They must be brought up the right way.
Right, you are. Well, and I kind of look around, and if I see a young man around, I will ask him if he knows the whereabouts of Carrasco.
The man looks up and sort of wipes his sweat. Carrasco, he's over yonder somewhere. Points towards the vineyards, sort of the left flank of the vineyard. Saw him maybe half an hour ago.
Well, Perone, should we go and tell him that about his sister, or should we squeeze him first? What do you say? Do you think he would be the one who did it?
I think if we tell him first, perhaps that would incite him into telling us more than perhaps he might do if we had not mentioned his sister's demise.
Yes, you might very well be right.
Let's see. However, perhaps there are three of us here who could perhaps restrain him if he does go violent.
Well, I think the worst that could happen is that he could run off after Carlos, but he would have a bit of a run since they've already left. So I don't think he'll try to lash out against us.
Then let us have a word. Let us find him.
Okay, start walking in the direction that the man pointed me in.
You find Carrasco fairly easily. He's a pretty well-built man in his maybe early 20s or so. He has this sort of longish hair that's sort of falling down on both sides of his face, curled, very dark, very sweaty now. Clothing is quite dusty as he's working in the vineyard. He has a bit of a reddish skin tone and is fairly muscular. He's been clearly used to heavy physical labor for most of his life, as have most of the farmers here. And he turns as you come up and stops and sort of runs his fingers through his hair, wiping out the sweat a bit. Looks you up and down a bit, and you notice he has a rather large knife at the side. Not necessarily like a common knife or anything like that, but it's a big knife. He gives you a nod. You're the visitors, yeah?
Yes, we are.
Anything I can help you with?
We have some unfortunate news to break with you.
What do you mean?
Yesterday, early this morning, with the dawn, we discovered the body of your sister.
What?
She...
He goes very pale. Conchita?
So
You're saying she's dead?
So reach out, try and console him, touch his arm.
He sort of shakes it off and takes 2 steps back. You saying she's dead?
She's dead. The priest is making arrangements for the burial this evening.
What? He drops the tool that he was carrying.
Yes.
How did this happen?
We will tell you. Well, come with us.
Where is she? Where's she? Where's her body?
We'll take you.
Yes, all right. He follows you. Where do you want to take him?
I want to take a quick look around before we leave. I imagine maybe some people heard us.
Oh yeah, he was speaking quite loudly. So at least a handful of people working close by have sort of stopped working and are looking your way and sort of looking at each other as well, exchanging glances.
Okay, I follow behind.
Okay, so where do you want to talk Carrasca? Take Carrasca.
The church.
Okay.
That's where Father Xavier is coming back.
Yeah. It's been a couple hours, so he's probably already back, you reckon. You can actually see as you're approaching the church on the graveyard behind it, there's 2 men with shovels that seem to have started digging already. Carrasco stops, he sees that, and he goes even paler, and his hands are shaking, and he's clearly distraught. You can just hear him mumble to himself every now and then, like, I'm supposed to protect her. What? I don't understand. How could... Eventually, as you were approaching the church, he turns to you and says, what happened? How did she die?
We'll wait until we're inside.
Then
we will explain.
All right. You step in, and you can see in front of the altar with a cross, there's like a blanket laid out, and a body is wrapped in linen up there. And Father Xavier is praying above it, just standing there. He looks up, and he says, "My boy, I'm sorry." What happened, Father? Well, I don't. Why? He rushes up, grabs the body, and like unwraps the head. Looks at her. And just breaks down crying. Father Xavier.
Wait until the initial shock is beginning to wear off.
Yeah, it takes quite a few minutes as she's just crying, first with tears and then just quiet sobs. Eventually he kisses her brow, puts her back down, covers her up, stands up very shakily and nearly falls, in fact leaning against the side of the wall, holding himself up with one hand, looks up, and you see his eyes are red, just like tears still have left lines in the dirt of his face. What happened?
Take a seat on the pew here.
He drops down, basically. What happened?
This was no accident.
Are you saying someone killed her? Who?
You do not have any. I do not know of any reason why anyone would harm her. there have been no falling out recently?
No, nothing.
Harsh words?
She was a good girl. She was a hard worker. She was good.
She was. For the brief time I knew her, she was. I could tell she was a good person.
How did she die? He grabs the heft of his knife with one hand. You can see the knuckles white as he grips it as tightly as he can, and his face is now turning red now instead of pale.
Do not have any thoughts. Do not have any thoughts like that. No good will come of them. Leave this to us.
I couldn't protect her. The least I can do is avenge her, right?
No.
Wait, what do you know?
There
She
is
was
one
troubled.
other thing. Yes.
Yeah, and I look at the sister.
There is one other thing that you could perhaps do. Before she died, she wanted to confess something to us. She wanted to unburden her soul to us so that she could receive atonement for something. But she wasn't able to do that. You wouldn't know of anything that was troubling her, anything that she might have wanted to confess.
She did seem a bit troubled the last couple of days, but she didn't talk about it. Figured it wasn't anything serious. She's a sweet girl. She's troubled by all kinds of things. She was a sweet girl.
You don't know of anyone else she might have confided in.
Maybe someone up at the castle. I don't spend most of the time there. Maybe that Juan or Pepe or Fernando even. I don't know. He didn't talk to me about it. I should have been there. How did she die? Was it at least painless?
I think it was quick, yes.
I promised my parents I'd take care of her. And now she's dead and I'm here.
Anything you can tell us, boy, can help us find out who did it. You're known around town for being protective of her. Did you know any men to want to seek her out?
She was a pretty girl. A few men. Carlos. Maybe it was him.
No. No, it wasn't.
You know that?
We know that.
How?
We are inquisitors. We know how to find the truth.
Father Xavier takes a step forward, puts a hand on the young man's shoulder and says, Carrasco, there's two of the other villages. They are digging her grave. You want to help? We want to lay her down tonight after sundown and have a small feast in her honor and all that. I think you should leave anything else for tomorrow after the funeral. Now, you owe her that much. You're right, Father. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. It's the most important thing is that we can give her to the light of the Lord. Yes, that's right. You know, you'll find her grave. I chose a good spot for her, under a willow tree. She always liked willow trees. She did. He stands up, pushes his way through you, and leaves the church. Father Xavier looks at you and says, maybe I should go with him, just to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid.
Before you go, Father, that's a good idea, but quick question. The other two men out there digging, what are their names?
Pietro and Diego. Why?
Do they know a man called Armand?
Armand. Yes, we all, of course. We all know
Are they
Armand.
friends with him? Do they spend time with him often?
I I'm not sure. I don't think Armand has many friends.
And I want to ask you about the gypsies outside of town. Can you tell me about them?
The gypsies. Is this important? I should really take care of Carrasco. But I mean, I don't know that much about them. They come by but once a year and stay for a month or two during the summer months, as usual as here. Traveling folk. Some of them come to church, not that often, but every now and then. They are of our faith, as far as I know.
Do they attend the festivity that is to be held tomorrow?
Yes. They're the best musicians that we have, so I'm sure they will be here, looking to earn a few points.
Very well. You are right. You should go watch over Carrasco, see that his temper does not overtake him.
Yes. Gives you a nod and leaving you with the body.
Wow. He said the gypsies come to church. Do you think they are sincere, or are they just keeping up appearances?
We could visit them and find out. We must find out either way. But if they come every year, and don't know, I can't see there being grave connection at with these incidents. Why would it all flare up?
We have two purposes, and one of them is to root out heresy. Recent converts should always be questioned, don't you think?
Yes, yes, I agree. I'm distracted.
What year is this, Alex?
Sorry?
What year was this again?
1597.
1597, okay.
Yeah.
Are we aware of current affairs? I'm guessing we are aware of things that are going on.
Oh, I mean, sure. Certainly in Spain, and probably not that much in the wider world.
So I presume we'd get reports from other dioceses and churches and stuff.
Well, the higher ups would, but not you. Like, you're not particularly high up in the order of the church.
Okay.
Yeah, I have plans to talk to the father more later, but for the moment, I would suggest that we go talk to the gypsies.
Yeah.
It's getting.
We know roughly where they are.
It's getting very hot now, so the sun's beating down, the temperature's rising. It's close to noon, and most people on the fields actually are retreating for a siesta time, basically, for the hottest 3 or 4 hours of the day to get out of the heat. But you can make your way over if you want to. It's not like dangerous, it's not pleasant to walk.
As soon as we walk out, Alonso kind of wipes the sweat from his brow and regrets the suggestion that he just made, but he will soldier on and go see the gypsies if the rest do the same.
Okay. You're all done?
I think perhaps we should go later.
Perhaps you're right. And yeah, we'll go back into the church and take a seat.
Yes, perhaps some people will come during the hot part of the day to take shelter here and perhaps speak to us while we wait for it to become a little cooler.
Sound idea, as I fan myself with my hat.
Okay. So the digging of the grave continues despite the heat, and you can hear the mumbling of people outside. It's clearly people have realized what is happening. A couple of people do come into the church to basically look at the body and speak a quick prayer. They give you respectful bows, but otherwise ignore you. It doesn't seem like any one of them seems too interested in denouncing anyone as a heretic or anything like that. A few hours pass. The hottest part of the day slowly but surely passes. Father Xavier returns and basically tells you that Carrasco is digging like mad, more or less, which at least puts his energy, channels his energy in a positive way, and offers you a little bit of some food and some water.
Oh, I thought you would never ask. Thank you, Father.
Of course, of course. We'll be preparing a small feast after the funeral tonight. It would be an honor if you would attend. Maybe speak a few words. You are, after all, one of the last people that saw her alive. Forgive me if I ask, but the Don and Fernando, what do they? I haven't seen them. Is everything all right with them?
Well, I mean, they've seen this woman's dead body. You can imagine that they're somewhat disturbed.
Oh, I see. And you're right. That does make sense.
It happened on their land and their home, practically. They need a bit of time.
I see.
And Fernando is an impressionable young man.
I'm sorry?
And Fernando is an impressionable young man. You see, Father, you know him. You probably know what I mean.
I don't know him as well as I know most of the others. He was away for quite a long time, attending a university somewhere, if I recall. But, well, they'll be at the funeral, I'm sure. Forgive me, I need to make preparations for tonight. So you wait until the hottest part of the day is over, and you want to go over to the gypsies again? Still, as it hits about maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon or so, and it starts getting a little less. I mean, it's still very hot, but it's not quite as unbearably hot as it was in the hottest couple hours of the day.
Sure. I think I might prefer to ride actually this time.
Well, the horses are up at the Don's the castle, Vicarra's castle, so you'd have to go up and get them, or send someone to get them.
Well, I would definitely not be opposed to just telling somebody to go up and get them.
Okay, sure, you can
I
arrange.
imagine with this heat, I mean, I'm trying to ask nicely, but probably my idea that I'm above pretty much everybody in this town comes a little bit through as my patience wears thin as I sweat and sweat.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, so you send some farmers up to get your horses, and they do return about half an hour later or so with your steeds, donkey and whatnot. And they, one of them says, "Your servant, this big man, he didn't tell him. He it took a while to persuade him to give us the horses. I think he thought we wanted to steal them or something."
Oh yes, he's very protective. It's okay.
Yeah.
Once you get to know him, he's a gentle soul.
Right. Well, here's your horses.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So you grab your horses and you head east out of the village. The valley sort of gets narrower as you ride east. And there's a large, medium-sized forest that you sort of skirt around. And then as you do, you see in the distance, a couple 100 yards away from you, there's a small lake, really just a large pond, nothing significant, with a couple of trees around. And there's about 5 or 6 wagons brightly colored in greens, oranges, and yellows and reds in a semicircle on one side of the pond, with not too many people moving around. You can see two women, apparently, sitting around what seems to be a fire with a huge pot on top of it, making some sort of evening meal, probably. And another woman seems to be washing clothes further down, a bit further away at the edge of the pond. And there's one young man whittling away with a knife at some piece of wood. Other than that, you don't see anyone. Just those four. They all kind of look up, except for the woman that's washing the clothing. She's too far away to have noticed you as you approach. And you notice that two women that are cooking are, especially the men amongst you, notice that, are very pretty. And they both sort of look in your direction. And the young man stands up, comes over to you, gives a bit of bow, and says, how can we help you? I was wondering when you'd show up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. The name's Abijay. Maybe I can help? Or are you looking to speak to the Seeker?
You are the Gitanos camp we've heard so much about.
Sorry, what was that?
The Gitanos.
Gitanos. He gives you a bit of a weird look and shrugs, and suppose you could call us that.
Okay. We've heard much about you. We thought we'd come to visit.
Well, here we are.
What is the name of the headman? Vardy, was it?
Yes, the Seeker, Vardy, yes. You want me to fetch him?
Yes.
Oh.
All right,
Oh.
I'll be right back.
Thank you.
He walks up to, there's a couple of steps leading to a little door that leads into one of the wagons, a greenish painted one. He knocks and disappears inside. The wagons aren't very big, just enough probably for like a tiny room for maybe two people. So you reckon there must be about maybe between a dozen and 15 members of this group, so to speak. A couple minutes pass and the young man comes out, gives you a nod and sits down and starts whittling away on this piece of wood again. And briefly after, an older man with a long grayish beard, slightly braided, wearing a purple cap hanging down over half his face, comes stepping out. He has a couple of copper rings on his fingers, and he seems a bit older, in his maybe early 60s or so, with a slight hunch, slightly sort of hunched forward. But he's still walking fairly swiftly. As he comes up to you, gives a small bow. Welcome. My name's Vardy. I'm the Seeker, the leader of our small group here. You are the guests from afar, from what I've heard. Travelers yourself. Welcome to our camp.
Thank you. Your hospitality is...
Of course. Have you come to share a meal with us? It will take a bit, maybe an hour or so before it is done.
Oh, we have...
Doing great work. I see. Well, how else can we help you then?
We believe you sell a drink to the people below.
Well, many drinks, not just one. We have beer, we have wine, we have stronger spirits. Although you did not come here to buy drink, are you?
No, we're just interested in the very fact that so many of the villagers seem to recommend your drinks. And
well, what can I say? They don't really have much experience, I suppose. So, not that the quality of our liquor isn't good, but still.
How are they brewed?
Well, we don't brew them ourselves. We buy them along the way. Just redistribute them, you know? We don't have the capacity to make that sort of thing.
They're from farms and so forth.
Yes, I suppose. We buy them in markets.
Are you buying them anywhere differently this year than you were last year?
No, not really.
Okay.
Why Is there anything wrong? Was anyone sick, or we didn't?
We were just trying to see certain things have happened in the village, and we want to kind of cancel out any possibility.
Oh, have they now? What? Like what?
A couple of instances, nothing to worry about too much.
If you say so. So, what can we help you with then?
You are the father in the church in town mentioned you. Your people, they are converts, yes?
Yes. Well, the word sounds. We have found the holy path, the word of our Lord, or our Lord. Most of us have been Christians for all our lives, well, especially the younger ones.
Do you follow the teachings of the church to the best of your ability?
Of course.
Word has reached you of the edict, the request to tell us if you know.
A few of the villagers did tell me. I'm afraid I don't think I can help you much. I don't know the villages well enough to know any details about them. I only meet them for a few weeks every year.
One person spoke to us to the contrary. They said there might be heresy among your people. What can you tell me about that?
I don't know anything about heresy about my people, and I would know if there was anything like that. We are simple folk just trying to get by. We're not trying to hurt anyone. We're certainly not trying to speak out against the word of the Lord.
You know, sometimes heresy comes not from malice, but from simple ignorance on how the word of the Lord has to be interpreted. It is a complicated book.
Oh, yes, that it is. We are doing our best, as you said. That's all that can be expected, surely. You know, none of us is perfect.
Speaking of which, do you know the Mendozas, Carlos specifically, the
Carlos,
older boy?
Yes, I know him well.
He likes your music. He frequents your camp.
Yes.
What can you tell me about him?
Well, he's here nearly every night.
Did you see him last night?
We did, yes. He was here until quite late.
May I ask, how late?
It's hard to say. I don't usually stay up until the morning hours myself. These old bones, they're no longer quite as resilient as they used to be. But I'm fairly certain he was here for a long time.
If you've seen him,
might some of your daughters know?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they would. If you want me, I can ask.
You've seen him drink before, yes? Does he
Of course.
tend to get sleepy when he drinks, or is he more rowdy and happy looking?
He's more of a happy bunch, as are most villagers, I'd say. I think they're all they're hard-working folk, right? A lot of frustration build up and they need to get rid of. And we're just helping him with that. A little bit of dancing, a little bit of drinking, nothing significant, but in our way, I think we serve to preserve the peace, if you know what I mean. Let people release some steam every now and then.
It would not surprise you if he could have stayed up all night after coming here. It would not be beyond what you could believe.
I think he would have stayed up all night here.
Are you saying that you saw him here until the morning? He stayed here the whole time?
I went to sleep myself a few hours after midnight, but when I went to sleep, he was certainly still here.
And is fornication one of the releases that you offer those who visit your camp?
Well, we don't. We are a simple people. As I said, the farmers are simple people as well, and they have simple desires. It is better for them to release some pressure every now and then than for it to turn violent. Isn't that right?
You don't view this as a sin.
We are all sinners. Some large, some small. We just try to get by.
To aspire to greater things, to sanctity, if we can.
That, I believe, is far beyond our reach.
Because it is far beyond our reach does not mean we should not reach.
Wise words, wise words.
But to the matter of Carlos staying here last night, do you think any of your people could attest to this?
I
Could
will ask around if
verify
you
it?
want right now. Is that what you want? I can ask around.
Yes, yes, that would help. If there was somebody who could verify that he was here all night till the morning.
Yes, yes, as you wish. Give me a few moments. And he started sort of walking around, talking to people in a language that I don't think any of you speaks. Sounds rather foreign in your ears. Some people are sort of nodding and shaking their heads. And he walks around about 15, 20 minutes, pretty much seems to talk about pretty much everyone, and comes back with a girl really, about maybe 16, 17 years old, with sort of long black hair tied up in a bun with a few sort of golden strands in it. And he says, "This is Layla. She says that Carlos was with her in her company until the early hours of the morning, nearly until sunrise." The girl nods hesitantly, seems a bit nervous.
Do not worry, girl. We are not here to accuse you. We just wanted to know the whereabouts of Carlos. He might be mixed up in some trouble.
He was with me, as the seeker says.
Does she
When
seem
he
to be telling the truth?
Give me a insight check.
No.
So she seems nervous, but I mean, that's not usually that's not that unusual in this circumstance.
Like I said, girl, we are not here to judge you. You have done nothing wrong. We are merely thinking about him, and if he did do something wrong, it's not just having some fun with you last night. But let me ask you, when he drinks and he's relaxed, and he wouldn't be relaxed in your company, does he talk a lot?
No, not. He barely talks.
More the quiet type, huh?
Most of them are. Yes. Well, if this is all, then, or is there anything else that you need help with anymore? Someone's breathing really loudly in their microphone. I'm not sure if that's Vicarra or Ian. One of you guys, because the other two are muted. Okay, now I can't hear anything anymore. So,
well, I'm not muted.
Okay, no, never mind. Is there anything else we can help you with then?
I can't think of anything. It's
well, you know where to find us. We'll be here for at least another week or so. If you need any further information.
And you will be playing at the celebrations tomorrow evening.
Yes, of course. We're looking forward to that. We haven't seen a bull run for a few months now. A bit too dangerous, if you ask me, but young men do what young men need to do.
They do. Unfortunately, they do.
We were all young once, weren't we?
I shall smile at that. Yeah. Some of us younger than others.
Ain't that the truth? Well, have a safe journey back to the village.
Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
He bows a bit. And okay, you ride back.
Yeah, well, we're picking up little bits and pieces, but nothing really. No proper clues, I don't think. The one thing, though, where I would like to go is back up to the castle and have a look at the items from his ancestor.
Have we already left, or could I mention one more thing here?
Yeah, you can duck back if you want. You're just leaving the camp, basically.
I would since we have like these young gypsy ladies here and they're cooperating, I would like to actually ask if they have alibis for any of the other men whose names I know.
Which one would that be?
So let me see. So we talked about Carlos, and I would also mention his younger brother Claudio, even though he's just a boy.
No, they have not seen Claudio.
Rico.
Yeah, they have seen Rico. He was not with them last night, though.
Okay. Armand.
He was here, yeah.
That night, and he stayed all night?
No, he didn't stay all night. He stayed for quite a while, though.
Okay, and Carrasco?
Carrasco, let me check. Yes, he was here as well.
Was he there all night, though?
No, he was not. Only maybe up until midnight or so.
Okay.
Has the village priest ever visited your camp?
No, they laugh at as you mentioned that.
What about Fernando?
He was here quite regularly, but not last night.
Okay.
And the father, Ansel? Not the father priest, but the...
no, Anselmo was never here, no.
And the old man who went mad?
You mean Don Vicarra?
That's right.
No, he was not here, no.
Okay.
Or the stable boys? Or the stable boy or the other servant?
No.
Yeah.
No, none of them.
Or one. Okay.
It seems mostly young men from the village seem to visit, but as you're talking with them, it seems it's a fair decent number of young men. It's not like just like 2 or 3, at least a dozen or so.
And do more young women come out of the woodwork, or is it just this young one?
There seems to be about maybe 5 or 6 young women around.
Do I get the feeling that this is a pay for play kind of thing, or are they just having fun?
Pretty sure pay for play, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now, of course, it's a sin. Now, whether it's heresy is a different thing. But I mean, at all these young women, and being that it's obviously they have a kind of a prostitution thing going on here, I kind of look around at Perron and my other companions.
Prostitution is a very bad sin. But we also know that at least 2 of them were here last night and left early.
Yeah. One at least is well capable of committing murder, I would imagine. Well, before we leave again, we'll have to postulate the possibility of them coming to confession. Confessing any sins that you may have.
They hesitate a bit and talk a bit amongst each other. Vardy steps up. Well, I think since most of us will be in the village tomorrow evening, maybe that would be a good time for a confession.
That would be fine.
Very good then. Then we will see you tomorrow.
Smile and rein the horse away.
All right. They all sort of wave and bow a bit. Seem rather friendly people.
So the gypsy is tempting people with both the sins of the flesh and alcohol. That's pretty bad, I think.
A bit too friendly.
It's not good, is it? I mean, it's basically they're creating the whole region to be sinful. They're actually the harbingers of everything that's possibly wrong with the place.
And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they've been leading people to believe that somehow what they're doing is not wrong. You heard him justifying his actions. I'm not sure that they've directly stated that it's not a sin, but they are certainly giving that impression, I believe, to the people in this village.
It wouldn't surprise me. No muscle salesman would ever tell their clientele that mussels might make them sick if they eat too many.
An interesting analogy.
I have a feeling that we might be coming back here for information after all. As I asked the girl, sometimes men engage in confession when they lay with a nice woman. And after all, they're not bound by any vow to keep it secret. We could press it out of them, perhaps.
I wonder if that's what the gypsies are also doing, is keeping secrets and in using those secrets to gain wealth, maybe. They don't seem to be beyond any kind of sin, do they?
Perhaps, although it seems to be mostly money that they're interested in.
Well, bribery does also include money, doesn't it?
Certainly. I don't think our business with them is any way concluded.
No, I don't think so either.
But shouldn't we see to the Don Vicarra and whether his condition has worsened?
Yeah, certainly we should check on him before Mass.
Good idea.
All right. So you ride back up to the castle. You see that the people are slowly now returning from the fields. Some of them are still working. The sun's still up, but it looks like there is a small bonfire being gathered at the edge of the cemetery, and the grave is dug out and it's ready. And the people are probably not quite yet, but within the next hour or two to celebrate the whatever you call that, I don't
Service?
know. Well, yeah, the service, but the sort of feast after it will be starting. But you have some time yet. You ride up to the gates, and you are met by a very bored-looking Lopez.
Lopez, have you been standing there all this time?
Well, most of it. You said you wanted me to keep an eye on things.
Yes.
Yes. Well, everything's been quiet. The boy, the young master, wanted to leave, but I told him that he's supposed to stay here. The other two didn't make any problems. The manservant was with his master most of the day. He was fed, from what I've heard, but he still seems wrong in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Still bound to the bed for sure. Oh, and
Where did Fernando want to go off to?
I don't know. He just said he wanted to go down to the village. I told him to stay.
That's good. We should maybe look on the father and see what his condition is. He was enough to talk.
Still upstairs in the room, I'm guessing.
Personally, I would like to examine him for any signs that he might be possessed, or that any witchcraft might have been visited upon him.
Any signs in the room?
Good. Go right up.
Do we know if this has happened before? Did we ask that from anybody? If this sort of, if he's done this before? If he's
With
gone...
Vicarra, you get the impression that you didn't ask specifically, but you get the impression by the reactions of the other people that it hasn't happened before.
Right. Okay. So everybody's kind of shocked by it. So
Yeah, exactly.
right.
Okay, so you leave your horses with Pepe and make your way up to the Don's room, and you're intercepted by Fernando as you enter.
I was just wondering whether it snuck out the back or something. But
No,
it's still there.
You're back. Your man, he did not want me to let me leave. Is it fine if I leave now then?
No, not until we question you. We need to have a few words. If you don't mind staying until then.
As you wish. I just wanted to make myself useful and help with the funeral. Father Xavier said that he's going to happen as after sundown. And we do not have that much sunlight left. My father's condition is not much changed. He has exhausted himself a bit after struggling against the bindings for a long time. Slept a few hours at the hottest part of the day, but now he's awake again. He's still...
Is he able to talk?
Well, only shouting obscenities and such.
Right. Did you notice your father eat or drink anything differently last night at the meal?
You were with us. Well,
Yeah.
You had the same food and drink.
Right.
When you say he's shouting obscenities, what has he been saying?
Well,
Evoking the devil or anything of that sort?
Oh, no, nothing like that. It's just damning everyone close around him and calling us infidels and dogs and swine and such.
More of that then.
I believe he seems to be in some sort of dream or something. It seems like a waking nightmare or of some such. I've never heard of anything like it, but that is what it seems to me.
Expressions of antiquity from the Reconquista. That's...
Possibly, yes. Yes, something like that. A battle of old, maybe. He was very interested in these stories you have heard last night.
He's hallucinating.
Do you think that your father could have himself driven that pitchfork through Conchita? After all, he's not himself.
Possibly, but I doubt it. He would not. It did not seem to me that he had left his rooms. His clothing was in order and everything. Also, if he was insane, would he not have killed her in his room instead of taking her down to the stables?
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have traveled and then came back, and it seems a bit odd.
Yeah, that would have been too...
Yeah, it just seems too rushed.
Yeah.
I would agree. I was giving it quite some thoughts over the course of the day. There was not much more to do, so I doubt it.
When your father returns to his room, what does he normally do? Does he normally go straight to bed, or does he stay awake and read? Or
depends how much he had to drink. Last night he had quite a bit to drink, so I assume he would have gone to bed fairly soon.
He wouldn't have drank anything in his room afterwards, you don't think?
I am not certain, but I do not think so. He does not usually drink in his rooms.
And Fernando, we've heard that you often frequent the gypsy ladies outside of town, but not tonight. Why not?
I was at the feast, my father's behest, with the Mendozas and you. It did not seem appropriate. I do not go there that often.
Do you ever drink with them? Do you ever take some of the drink back here?
No. I drink some of their drinks, beer and such. There is not much to drink here, if you had not noticed that, except for the Mendoza wine, even though, to be honest, it is not bad. But after a few months, a man needs some change.
I would
And
like to.
the ones who work here, do they ever go with you when you go see the gypsies?
You mean Pepe and Juan? No. Oh, they would not do that. Juan is too stiff for that sort of thing, and Pepe is a boy still.
Right. The sister wanted to say something.
Yes, just that I would like to examine Don Vicarro a little bit more closely, and
Right.
these relics, these objects from his grandfather, was it? Perhaps we could have a look at those as well.
Yes, they're in the trophy room downstairs. I can have them brought up if you wish, or you can take a look there.
We will take a look there. Has Conchita's room been disturbed since the?
I have not been there. It is hardly hardly worth.
I think I should go and have a look there.
Yes.
It's very small, but it is just down the corridor on the right side.
In fact, perhaps we should take a look throughout the entire castle. If someone here were to have killed her, trace of it around, bloody piece of clothing or something of the like.
Absolutely, yes.
Although they would have had plenty of time to dispose of it by now.
Mhm.
Well, I was looking around a little bit, but I did not notice anything. Anyway, is it fine then if I go now? I would like to pay my respects as well before.
I would prefer that you stay here until we have had time to search the entire manor and
Take hours.
take a closer look at your father.
Should we ask Lopez to speak to the priest and delay the funeral? Till the morning. That ways we could finish our investigation, and then everybody who needs to go could go, couldn't they? One more evening won't make a difference, I don't think. People think.
If anybody can persuade them, it's him. But yes, it is a bit much. But I trust his power of persuasion. If that's what we decide is the best course of action.
I'm just wondering if that's worth doing, because obviously people want to go to the funeral, but we don't want it. We don't want to have risk having witnesses or even suspects suddenly disappearing because of a funeral. And for the sake of the investigation, maybe we should ask for the funeral to be delayed until we actually have finished our investigation.
Seems to me a good opportunity to see everybody react to the news and have a look around and question people while they're all in the same place.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should wait, if we should make them wait.
Okay, I just thought. In which case we have to let Francisco go, don't we? And this guy go. Yes.
Fernando,
sorry.
Well, if you wish to be present at the funeral, I will tell Father Xavier to wait for a few hours. Will not make much of a difference. Tomorrow is San Miguel, so the people do not have to wake up and work on the fields.
Well, if you would do that, we'd be very gracious. It'd be very good of you. We just want to basically finish our investigation of the death before we.
She was a good woman. Whatever you can do to try and catch her murderer. I will ask Father Xavier to. He will be wondering why Don Vicarra is not. I will tell him that my father is helping you with the investigation up here, and ask him to delay the funeral for a few hours so you can have a look around if you wish.
You could also tell him that your father is ill.
I do not think it would be a wise choice. They could come to the wrong conclusions.
Hmm.
The other thing I'd like to, I would like sister to, I'd like my sister to actually examine the body before she's buried as well. Again, just one more time.
Well, she will not. It will not be buried before the actual funeral itself. So that should be still fine. I believe usually such bodies are kept in the church until they are lowered into the ground.
Okay, that's good. If you can let the priest know to hold.
I will.
That'd be good.
Very well. I will see you soon. And he heads off.
Okay.
Just shouts over his shoulder, Juan is with my father if you have any other questions. And
Should we send Lopez with him?
Yeah, send Lopez with him just to make sure. I want to keep an eye on things. The reason I want to examine the body again is that I want to see if there's been an onset of gangrene within the wounds very quickly.
All right, so you shout down to Lopez to go with Fernando?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lopez sort of leaning against the wall, looks kind of tired.
Missed a little bit of that. You guys are cutting out.
All right, I'll go with him then. I'll see you down there in a few hours, yes?
Yes.
Very well. Try not to let the crazy Don go. I won't be here to subdue him this time. So he gives you a nod and heads down.
Crazy Don.
He did take the weapon away from him, didn't he?
The weapon is gone. The sword that the Don had.
Good. Good.
It would be a bit of an oversight if he didn't.
So,
He's been waving his big sword around.
Well,
Gone?
shall we go in and see the old man?
oh, it's not gone. It's still around, the sword, but it's not under the Don's hands. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have a look at the Don and then search the castle montage.
So you step into the room. The Don is still tied to his bed. Looks tired, very tired. Juan is also still there, or again there. He looks at you and says, "Oh no, not many changes, I'm afraid. He's been angry and trying to get rid of the bindings. Now he's tired, and I believe he will go to sleep soon. I tried talking to him, but nothing of use comes out."
Perhaps it is time for a more religious approach.
What do you mean?
I look at Perone.
More religious approach. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you mean either.
Do you believe him to be possessed by a
I see. Yes.
demonic spirit?
The penny drops. Just speak with him again.
A demonic possession? Is that, you believe that could be true?
Could be. There's certainly something very unusual happening, and it would not surprise me. Don Vicarra. I'll sit down next to him.
Okay. He does look at you out of the corner of his eyes, but doesn't react otherwise. He's still gagged and bound.
I would carefully, making sure that he can't bite my hand, remove the gag.
Okay. You just give a snarl. You want to get away with this, heathens? You'll be crushed like the dogs you are.
If I look around his room, can I see anything like half-filled glasses of alcohol or any kind of food?
Give me a spot hidden check.
Okay. I'm not really looking for anything that's particularly hidden, just something that's on a table or something.
Yeah, I know. Like, if it's anything obvious, I would tell you.
Okay. Now,
hidden is not necessarily just for hidden things; it's also for like trying to like read clues and stuff from a room.
well, I'm looking for a particular thing. I'm looking for, as I said, any kind of alcohol or maybe bread. Or
there is a plate that seems to have held some sort of food.
Can I tell what food from the crumbs? Is it bread?
Maybe some bread and some cheese or something, you'd say, from the crumbs.
I'm a type of bread.
It's hard to say. Some sort of flatbread, probably. The sort of stuff that they have around here.
And the stuff around here, would it be, what sort of, would it be wheat bread or rye bread?
I'd say probably wheat, without being 100% sure.
Okay.
But I'd say wheat.
All right.
Oh yeah, I know. Now I understand what you're saying. What you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Right. There is a glass and a pitcher of, but it looks to hold only water.
Right. Okay.
Release me, and you might be spared. The wrath of the Lord will come upon you.
We are on the same side, Don Vicarra.
You cannot deceive me. You want to take our land, and you want to destroy our God with your false idols. I'll be cast out.
Is this a false idol? I shall show him my cross.
You
You recognize this, you recognize us for who we are. We are not your enemies.
Your hands, they blacken this holy relic that you're holding, heathen.
So I pull out my cross as well, and as Vidal is speaking, I start saying in a lower voice the Lord's Prayer in Latin over and over.
All right. He doesn't seem to react to it particularly.
I switch to Spanish and say the Lord's Prayer over and over. Not loud enough that Peron can't speak over me. I'm just basically just praying out loud.
His eyes sort of flicker over to you, but he doesn't seem to react much, other than getting a little more angry, maybe. Although he seems tired. He's probably been raging most of the day, and he's not that young anymore, so he doesn't have much strength left, other than nasty glances, basically, and the occasional outbreak.
I stop for a moment and say, "Did you sleep last night, Don Vicarra? Did you see anything out the window? Any infidels?"
Everywhere. They're everywhere.
Did you hear a scream in the night?
This is
A
not
young woman.
screams. That's all you bring. This is not your land. I'll go back to the desert with you.
Is Don Dominguez with you?
He looks very confused as you say that. What? You can't trick me.
Where is he?
I'm Don Dominguez. What, are you trying to mess with my mind? You dog will not save you from my sword.
Are you
I've already relieved you of your sword.
Are you with Santiago, the Moor killer? Is he by your side?
The true sons of the one true God will always triumph. For a moment, there's a weird look coming into his eyes, and he looks around. Why am I bound? What is happening? What is the meaning of this?
You tell us, Don Dominguez.
What is the last thing you remember?
Are these? Swine! Release me!
Do you know who we are?
I don't care who you are. You all fall before our blades. Juan from the corner of the room says, maybe we should let him sleep. With a bit of luck, he'll be better in the morning. Maybe some medicine might help. There's this old woman in the village. She knows things about herbs and such. She could maybe help. If you allow me, I could go and
You would leave your master's side?
Not gladly. But I mean, if one of you wants to do it, that's even better. The woman's name is Leandra. She lives on the southern side of the village.
We are aware of her.
Oh, I see.
We can wait here while you go get it.
Your loyalty to your master is to be commended.
Oh. I am. Wow, I've been working for the Vicarra for a long time. Ever since I was a boy, really.
So do you know most of the people in the village?
Of course.
And you have no cause to speak to us of heretics?
Heretics? No, I don't think so. I don't believe anyone I don't believe anyone in the village is a heretic.
Right.
So will you stay here while I go and fetch something from Leandro? I'm not sure how long it will take. Maybe an hour, maybe longer.
Does Leandra go to mass?
Yes, of course.
Perhaps we should all go down there and speak to her ourselves. You should stay with your master. Make sure he doesn't hurt himself.
Very well, if you think that's best.
You might put the gag back on so he doesn't bite his own tongue.
Yes, I agree. He carefully steps up and then very quickly binds the gag in place before the Don can really react much. But he seems to have lost most of his strength. And he's just like half eyes, half closed. His mouth working a bit, but no words coming forth.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys want to head down to the funeral? It's dark now, but easily torches and lanterns are easily found.
That's good.
Well,
all right.
If we've not been longer than a couple of hours, I would have still like to have a look in the computer's room.
Yeah, you can do that. That doesn't take long. The room is tiny. It's basically a large closet, really. There's just a narrow sort of straw mattress on one side and a small chest holding a few of her belongings, mostly clothing. That's pretty much it.
I'll be tapping various areas that look like might be somewhere where she could have a hidey hole to put something
I mean, the walls and the floor are made of stone in this castle, so there's not too many, unless it's some sort of cleverly concealed, like secret trapdoor or something. There's not too many places where she could hide. You sort of shuffle through the room real quick, but don't find anything of note.
Right. Okay, very well.
Excellent.
We'll have to leave the...
Well,
leave the relics
since
until
you're
later.
doing that, I would probably get the idea of looking through Fernando's room since he's not present. So I would do that.
Okay. In Fernando's room, you find several books, different, what do you call it? Worldly literature, I suppose, not clerical texts, novels, basically. You find a sword. Actually, the sheath of a sword. The sword itself seems missing. Fernando might have taken it with him as he left, or maybe there never was a sword. A whole bunch of clothing. That's pretty much it.
So there's a scabbard, but not the sword. The sword is missing.
Exactly. Scabbard, but not the sword.
Okay.
Sort of a long, like a saber, I suppose, type of blade.
And the scabbard is not stained in any way?
Not that you could see, no.
And neither is the clothing or anything. There's nothing that I would notice.
No, there's a lot of clothing. He has 5 or 6 different sets, but none of them seem bloodstained from what you could see.
Well, since I've done this room, I might as well do Juan's if he has his own.
Juan has a tiny room right next to Conchita, pretty much the same size.
I'd like to have a quick look there.
Yep, okay. Nothing of interest, no. His room is very clean, though. That's something that strikes you as unusually clean, let's put it that way.
Okay. Okay. He's very fussy young man. Okay. Interesting.
Not that young. He's about mid-30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. And the Pepe is still around, right?
Pepe is here, yeah. He hasn't left.
Right, okay. So yeah, after that I would go down to the church with the others.
All right. Excellent. Well, we'll take the break here then, and jump back in maybe next week, maybe the week after. We'll stay in touch and try to find an update. We'll see. This does go a bit longer than I expected, but what can we do?
Well, I found one person with an alibi.
Hey, just another 120 to go or so.
Yeah. Nice going.
Yeah, but
I've been running.
We should have probably interrogated the
I've been
lady
running my
further.
own Call
They're
of
probably
Cthulhu, like every
the
other
best source
week.
of information.
So like the same
Sorry?
time in 2 weeks would work for me. But
Yeah. Or actually, let me check. I think that might be Valentine's Day or something. Yeah, that's Valentine's Day. I'm not sure if I'm available on that day, but we'll talk. Well, I'm sure we'll find a day.
Yeah.
No rush.
Not a problem.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for playing. Hopefully, you'll still remember all the stuff that's happening and all the NPCs.
Yeah, this time I took a lot more notes than last time.
Yeah. Me
This
too.
adventure kind of needs
Yeah.
some notes too. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Well, thank you for playing. I'm gonna go to bed now. Hope you had fun as always. Thanks for watching. If there's anyone still sticking around or is watching this later on, and we'll see you to part 3, maybe the final part. Who knows? We'll see. All right, guys.
Yes.
Good night.
See you.
Bye bye.
thanks. See ya.
Good game. Thanks, Alex.